Hello and welcome to the Fired Up Network. Welcome to Fired Up Live, the flagship show of the Fired Up Network. This is Joseph Pasek. We got an amazing show for you tonight, and we're going to begin with NBA jump ball newest member Alex Campbell, along with Captain Canada of OnPointBasketball.com, Drew Ebanks. Big up to Drew Ebanks. And of course, a special guest comes midway through the show. It's my good, long-time, close personal friend, known for about 20 years, the Junkyard Dog, Jerome Williams. Followed that with the NHL lowdown with the icon, legend, Digit Murphy. Then female empowerment movement, Fem, takes center stage as Courtney Riddell does the Renaissance Mama. And then the Hall of Famer, John Freeman Nelson of OSG Sports in Atlanta, on Outside the Box, discussing the conference finals in the National Lacrosse League. And we close out the show with the Grizzled Young Red and Marty Roberts on the Sports Wrap. By the way, tomorrow, soccer show, 12:15, featuring myself, Giancarlo Lino, John Freeman Nelson, the Hall of Famer, and the coach, Carmen Asako. And later on in the evening, the Jim Murphy back with a preview of Game 5 between the Leafs and Florida Panthers. Also tonight, 8 p.m., the NFL schedule comes out, and I'll break it down right here on the Fired Up Network. But we begin with NBA jump ball, Drew Ebanks on PointBasketball.com, Alex Campbell of Fired Up Network, and Jerome Junkyard Dog Williams makes his appearance halfway through the segment. Enjoy. Hello, everybody. This is Joseph Hasek, and welcome to the Fired Up Network. Welcome to the flagship show of the Fired Up Network, Fired Up Live, and welcome to NBA Jump Ball with Captain Canada, Drew Ebanks of OnPointBasketball.com. Yes, we the ones. Thank you, Uso. And, of course, Alex Campbell here. You saw Alex on Monday with Rumac and not the Greek, because the Greek didn't show up. Anyways, let's get to the NBA. Let's start with a game just half an hour away. Just half an and Drew, I predicted the Philadelphia 76ers in the NBA Finals. You did not. Philadelphia leads Boston 3-2. Do they close it out tonight?
No, they do not. Come on. The Boston Celtics are not going to just roll over and play dead.
I didn't say they're going to roll over and play dead. I just said it may be a 102-101 game. That's not rolling over and playing dead.
No, I just think that Boston has way too much pride. They've been there before. I don't know if they've been to where their backs are against the wall at this stage in the last couple of years, but this is a must win. Obviously, they got to get it done. I think they have some pride. They're going to want to turn things around after that last game that basically Joel Embiid did everything and anything he wanted to do in that game. It was kind of embarrassing, to be honest with you, to see the Celtics fold like that. You either are going to get the Celtics.
They don't fold, but you're just saying in the same sentence that they folded in Game 5.
Well, yeah, but they're going to either be that Celtic team or they're going to go back to how they kind of been in the last 2, 3, 4 years, where a Celtics team that has a lot of pride and one that has a lot of toughness and that can rebound from adversity. So we'll see. I think we're going to get that team. I think the Celtics are going to be there. They have to, no choice, or else it could be blow up time in Beantown.
So, Drew, you see what Alex bought himself a court there and everything like that. He took the money from Fired Up Network, bought himself a court. You've been with me for how long, and you don't even buy anything. You don't even buy me a stick of Hubba Bubba. All right, Alex, do you think they're going to win tonight or not?
The Celtics, I mean, I like them to win tonight, for some of the same reasons. And then also the Sixers, they've been, you got to admire them, right? I mean, they're real gritty and everybody takes a big swing there. It just feels like everybody's an alpha, and it feels like kind of that's what we're not experiencing in Boston. Like there just is no alpha. There is no take charge. But at the same time, they've kind of shot their shot a few times now. And Maxi's been up and down in the playoffs. He just had he's coming off a great game. Harden has not shown the ability to piece multiple great games together. He's finally done a couple here, but it doesn't mean it's a light switch that he just flips on. It's been a narrative his entire career, and he's been up and down in these playoffs for the most part. So I would expect, kind of like how we saw Boston come out a little bit flat in the last game, I would expect Philly, even at home, to come out a little bit flat in this next one. That's just kind of generally how it works. You always get these like overreactions in the next day with fans and in the media and everything like that. But I think that steady as she goes, and Boston is still the deeper roster and the better team, and they're going to push this one to 7, and then it's kind of a coin flip from there.
Both of you guys, both Drew and Alex, better keep Will Smith's name out of your guys' mouth. Philadelphia is going to win today and close out the Celtics. Close them out. And if they don't, my name is Drew Ebanks, because he always predicts everything wrong. All right, let's get to the West, all right? Phoenix, Denver. I'll start off this time with Alex. Go ahead.
Yeah, Phoenix and Denver. Like, so, I mean, I just see Denver ultimately winning this series. I think they could. I mean, they got them on the brink now, and I know that Phoenix has had a little bit of a surge, but it's kind of the same thing where, Booker can't keep this clip up. He can't shoot over 60%, continuously and hang 30 points, 30 points, 40 points, night after night after night. And they also they traded away a lot of their perimeter defense, and that just doesn't bode well in the long stretch of the series. And that's frankly why they got down in this series to begin with. And I don't think they really have the gas in the tank to finish out and win, multiple games in a row to close this out.
All right, Drew, what do you say?
This one's tough. KD, obviously, I think Booker, the key I think I see in Booker is his ability right now to get to the 10. It's just so easy for him to do it. He can create off the bounce. He seems like he has another jet, like, jets on. He can just, get it going at any point. So that's been encouraging to see that he's not just settling for jump shots, and he's not letting the defense dictate how he's going to play and how aggressive he's going to be. This one is very, I want to say Denver's on a roll, but I don't think they've proven it on the road to be that tough of a team right yet. But tonight they're going to have to do it. I don't think they want to risk going to game 7 with the way Booker's playing. So as much as I think the Suns are going to take this, I'm going to go with Denver closing it out in a 2 or 3 point game, and they take the series.
Much like Alex, you're going to learn this your second time on this show, but much like Kevin Durant, he has a lot of talk. Drew Ebanks, a lot of talk, and just fails under pressure. What happens? I'll start off with Drew. What happens to the Phoenix Suns? Paul, Durant, Booker's going to stay. Or is he going to stay? Or after scoring 60 points, 50 points, say, we know win. I want to get out. Like Austin Matthews is going to if the Leafs lose. But anyways, go ahead, Drew.
What's your question? I'm still trying to figure that out.
What happens next to Kevin Durant? If they lose, where's he going to play next?
Well, I mean, he's got somewhere, I think, with Devin Booker. I don't think there's a reason for him to want to leave. Weather's great. Obviously, being in the West is another beast upon itself. But if they can get another solid player, I would, hate to say superstar. That's going to be a little bit difficult with their payroll. But if they can get another player that can, elevate his game or maybe sneak up on the NBA, I don't see a reason for Durant to want to leave that team. I think the key for them, though, is realizing they do have talent on the bench. Guys that have come on. TJ Warren, if you remember a few years ago, guys, this guy was like a borderline all-star. If he wasn't an all-star, I can't even remember. But that guy can play. Terrence Ross is a very valuable piece off the bench, not only because he's athletic, but because he can shoot. And I think for, Coach Monty Williams, he's kind of seen something this last few games. People were calling for it, guys. They were saying, you can't rely on 2 guys, especially with Paul out the whole series. And what have they done? They've integrated those guys into the series. I say that a third solid player, a third star, I mean, their big man in the middle, that's the guy right there that if he could ever elevate to the next level, they have the 3 pieces right there. and I'm talking about DeAndre Ayton. So I don't think Kevin Durant would be rushed to get out of there. I think they have a great situation, win or lose. Obviously, they had a short time to kind of meld and gel together, but I think they have potential there. They just need to get the most out of DeAndre Ayton and or trade Ayton for someone who's going to be that third person alongside Chris Paul, who essentially is at the end of his career.
All right, this was called a leading to the basket, and he failed to slam dunk it. All right,
I
Alex.
answered your question. I don't think
No, no,
KD's
but
leaving.
it was a lead. Like they need an extra player. You were going around the same. Like I thought I was like wavelength with you, but again, you dropped the ball, man. I gave you a slam dunk. So sources have indicated to the president of the province of Canada, Drew, the mayor-elect of North America, soon to be the mayor of Toronto, okay, that Phoenix is talking to some Toronto team in basketball named the Raptors. I don't know if you know that. About getting Fred VanVleet or a shooting guard named Gary Trent. Now, before Alex answers, I'll go to you first. Do you think Fred VanVleet or Gary Trent would help Phoenix out?
Well, of course, I think both would help. Obviously, Freddie, he's a crafty point guard. He's younger, less injury prone, probably, with relatively, good minutes than Chris Paul at this stage of his career. And you can never have too much shooting in the NBA. And I think Gary Trent Jr. shows you he can shoot. I think for Gary Trent, he has to decide what type of player and how long does he want to play in the NBA. He's got to put an effort on the defensive end as well of being able to score. So I think they could help him. I don't know what transaction it may probably be, I would assume Ayton going the other way, but then that would, cause another problem for them. Mm-hmm. They have that center. They just they're not able to bring it out. And maybe it's that whole relationship with Monty Williams, guys. I'm trying to figure out why they don't, it's been rumors that they don't have a good relationship, but why? I know from what I've read about Monty Williams, the guy's one of the nicest guys out there. What is that problem? What is that disconnect between those two? And I think they need to solve that if they haven't already.
Hold on. Fred VanVleet is calling me right now. Let me ask him one question. Hey, Freddie, are you going to get pregnant next year? Because if you do, I'm betting Phoenix for next year NBA championship. Thanks a lot. All right, Alex, go ahead. What do you think of, first of all, what happens with Kevin Durant? What happens if that trade does happen? And give me your best bets, maybe 20-1, 30-1. Fred VanVleet's
Though you said that they might go there.
I told you it's going to be DeAndre Ayton and another player with a draft pick for Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent and somebody else I have heard. And also I have heard that Chris Paul may be leaning towards joining Dwayne Wade, two players on the banana boat. All right? That's all I'm saying. Right. The banana boat. What's up? Big up to Jamaica there, all right? And the banana boat. There, imagine 2 out of 5 or whatever. But anyways, go ahead.
So the first thing I'll address is Chris Paul. Look, it's done. Like, can we just start there and to end there? It's done. I mean, I love the guy. I appreciate, this is probably the closest, he could have come this year, basically. But even when he's out on the floor, it's kind of like watching Kyle Lowry right now, where it's just like, how many shots are going to fall short? But I know, look, I played basketball for a long time, not at a high level, but I can tell you when my knees are gone, my jumpers don't go either. Okay. I'm sorry. It's you don't have it anymore. It's just not there. So Paul's got to go. I mean, this has got to be the end of the road for Chris Paul, and one of the greatest point guards of all time, but it's got to be over. And then after that, Durant stays because you still have such a good young. I don't like a trade with Toronto and VanVleet, because VanVleet's too expensive to the point that he's going to require something like Ayton. And like Drew said, that just causes a whole other issue. You at least have a rim protector. You at least have some presence. You at least have some rebounding down there in the starting lineup, because anymore, like Durant isn't bringing you those things in the paint, by the way. So, I mean, I'm glad, not in this stage of his career. So you really need Ayton in that nucleus, regardless if you find another star to go with them, or if you develop Ayton to the point, or you get rid of Monty, or whatever you do. I think you're going to need Ayton, because otherwise that's not an easy guy to replace. I mean, even though it's 2023 and we shoot threes in this league now, look, that's still not an easy guy to replace a rim protector. Look, right now in the playoffs, the two best rim protectors are ahead in their series, heading towards the championship.
Let me play devil's advocate here for 1 second here. Okay, like you just said it to close it out, your statement. How many centers, because DeAndre Ayton, pure center, okay? How many centers are there that you can mark on your team? Used to be a center's game. Shaq, Akeem Olajuwon, and all that. Jean Tabak. Drew. All right. All right. But
don't worry about that, Alex. A Toronto person would
Jean Tabak, Drew's favorite person. All right. So, if you look at it, this game is pulling away from centers. Joel Embiid, MVP and all that. He's a great person. And Jokic, he's a center, but not really a center, because name a center that gets a triple-double every game. All right. And pushes owners away. Right. We'll talk about that.
Okay. But to that point, though, like there was never a young European big in the league and in his prime back in the day that would have done that. I think if you had Arvydas Sabonis in his 20s in the NBA,
right,
we would have already seen Jokic.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I think you need length. I think it can be like Ayton is not your kind of lumbering center big dude. He's more of a wiry kind of power forward type player.
I think OG, right?
Yes, I think there's still room for a player like him. Speaking of a Canadian, Zach Edey, it's going to be tough for Zach just because he's got great instincts, obviously defensively, but it's the foot speed. And one thing DeAndre Ayton has, despite being a center and a tall guy, is he's got foot speed. That guy can switch off pretty much every player. Maybe not the point guard to full effect, but he can still do damage by being able to switch off. So I don't think we're ready to throw away all the big men in the NBA. And actually, when you think of who are the NBA kind of forerunners for MVP, they were all big men. I mean, you even throw in Giannis in there. No, he's not a center essentially, but 6'11", 7 feet. You look at Embiid, he's dominant. And you look at Joker, no matter what you want to say about him, he's a center. He's down on the block a lot, giving guys the business. So I would actually prefer to see a renaissance of the big man, to be honest with you guys. I actually hope Zach Edey gets in the draft and is able to do stuff. You look at Detroit, they've got some big men over there as well. I think it's great to see, and I hope the NBA kind of goes back, because really and truly, guys, a lot of times the NBA is unwatchable because you just have guys slinging up threes from the outside. I'd rather see guys get it in the post and kick it. If anything, the double team comes towards them. So I'm looking for big men to be a resurgence in the NBA.
And maybe is that already happening? I mean, like,
I think it is.
I think it is too. For years, I've been saying, look, and this is the same thing's true, and I don't mean to extrapolate it to another sport, but I think it works. The same thing's true, like in college football. Look, the more you move out to the edges, the more the middle is available. It's a very simple concept.
That's right.
The more you move out to the edges, the more you have these bigs in the league that are 7 foot tall but want to stretch the floor and want to hang out at the perimeter, and especially a lot of the European bigs to this day in 2023 still do not play defense, i.e. Jokic. Why haven't the Nuggets been able to put everything together yet? Well, Jokic doesn't play a lot of defense, especially for somebody his size, and ultimately that's a pretty big deal. And I know I already said it, but again, look at the two best rim defenders in the game right now, and a healthy Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid, and what they're doing in the playoffs and how relevant that is. And I think part of that is, look, if you take Davis and you take Embiid and you put them back in like the early 90s or the late 80s, they're not MVP runners at that point. You know what I mean? And so I think it goes back to this point that, like, that still matters. Like the basket is still only 10 feet tall. You're closer and you're stronger than everybody else. To get there, it's a little easier.
Size and length matter for sure.
and we'll touch on that because just a side note, Aiden with OG size and length, with Scotty Barnes size and length and all that could fit well with the Raptors, but we'll talk about the Raptors as we close it out. So tomorrow there's also two more games here, and let's start off in the East with the New York Knicks and the Miami Heat. I'll start because he's coughing. I was going to start off with Alex, but I'll start off with Drew there. And Drew's going to say New York's going to take it back because Drew's being paid by Spike Lee. All right.
Oh.
So yeah, that's right. But Miami and the Knicks, Jimmy Butler could close this out. Is Jimmy Butler going to go off for 50 points? Drew.
I mean, he's capable of it at any time. He's a guy who's obviously the key for the Heat. When he gets it going, playoff Jimmy, he's really tough. He's coming off a kind of subpar game, 19 points, almost triple-double, 9 assists, 7 rebounds, but it wasn't that overwhelming game, and the Knicks managed to hold off the Heat in that one. But I don't know. Miami doesn't want to go to game 7 because you never know what could happen in game 7. Injuries could come into play. A big shot or a fluke shot could take you down. So I think for Miami, they take it out. They finish this series, take out the Knicks. They're going to take this one in 6 games.
All right, Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, I also like the Heat to end the series, not and avoid game 7, get it done in 6 because Butler, I mean, at this point he's kind of unquestionable. Like you said, we had a game where he didn't look like he was, quite on pace, but then you look down, he's almost got a triple double, and that's kind of what it's become. That's really a sign of greatness. And it kind of reminds me of the times, back when you used to watch LeBron and he'd catch criticism like, oh, he quit on the team, and you look down and he's got 28, 10, and 13 assists. Like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, did he really quit on the team? You know what I mean? So it's really just that we've been treated to such great performances by Jimmy Butler that we're saying that that's an off game and forgetting the fact that he's coming off an injury. You know what I mean? And we showed a lot of patience for Embiid only scoring 15 points and 3 rebounds coming off his injury. You know what I mean? So Butler is going to play as many minutes as need be. I think he'll play all 48 if he has to get that done.
Hold on, Gabrielle Union's calling me. Hello. Hey, Gabrielle, how you doing? I'm doing a show here. Yes, I'll take the Fired Up Network corporate jet and party like it was 1999 tonight. I'll be back in time for the Maple Leaf game. But I'm on. So, and we have a special guest. Can you get that special guest? That special guest is coming on the show right now. My good, close, personal friend, Jerome Junkyard Bob Williams. Drew, say hi to JYD.
What's up, JYD? How you doing, buddy?
Hi, guys.
I'm good, man. How you guys doing?
That's Alex Campbell there.
Doing all right.
Jerome, we're talking about here. Welcome to the Fired Up Network NBA Jump Ball. We're talking about the playoffs. We're here with Golden State and the Lakers. All right, tomorrow, Golden State and the Lakers. Do the Lakers close out Golden State? Go ahead.
You know what? The way they're playing right now, they Golden State's been the back of with their backs against the wall type of team in the playoffs. When you challenge Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, these guys have proven that they can step up to the plate. So if I'm a betting man, I'm going with Golden State because, again, the Steph Curry factor. Klay Thompson hasn't had the best games the last couple of nights. Jordan Poole, he came on a little bit yesterday's game. So if they can put together that type of game again, then it puts the Lakers in a situation where they're looking for the Lonnie Walkers and others to come up and step up big with a 20-point game because it looks like LeBron James is a little late at foot. So I'm seeing those kinds of things and the switching of Anthony, AD switching out on Steph Curry. I don't see that game plan working in 2 more games. Mm-hmm. So they played their card. Hats off to them. But I think that, Lakers, the Golden State Warriors win the next game.
So you're saying Golden State wins?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Golden State.
And Alex, did you hear that? He said Golden State wins. You know why? Because Jesus, look at his trick. Jesus told them. Go ahead.
Well, look, I was going to say that, to me, Darvin Ham made a huge mistake in that game. I don't know about you guys, but I'm watching that game, and the Warriors are up 16 with a lot of time left in the third quarter, and I'm thinking, you got to pull AD and LeBron like right now, because there's no point in the rest of this. There's no point in the rest of this. Every time you get within 8 points, Curry hits 2 threes, and all of a sudden you're at 15 again. You know what I mean? Like every like clockwork. It keeps happening. So this isn't your night. It doesn't have to be your night, and stop going for it with like the Lakers are like an old race car. You know what I mean? Like it goes damn fast, but like those bolts and those parts, like look, they're not what they once were. They could break down easy and fast, and they're expensive. They're expensive pieces to replace. And so look, they can't push it, and they pushed it a little too hard. Those guys should not have been in the fourth quarter last night.
All right, go ahead.
But you got a point there. You got a point.
All right, go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, obviously you want to try to win the game, but you also have to look at it like, hey, are we in reach of possibly pulling this out? If you're not, you might want to rest them. And they ended up playing AD, and look what happened. He got hit in the head, had to be put on a wheelchair.
Right, and what does the wheelchair mean? The wheelchair to me means he had mobility issues after he got hit, which, I mean, is there concussion protocol in the NBA? Like,
well, yeah, he had it. Well, they were also saying the fact that stadium is so huge, they didn't want to take a chance of him having to walk the length to the locker room. And it could be a concussion. Obviously, other players that are tough, maybe like a JYD, would probably be able to play through that. But we're talking the tissue paper AD, where any little thing that it comes up with him, he's liable.
Look at Drew Ebanks, man.
They have no chance. They have no chance, Joe. They have no chance if AD doesn't play the next game to win that one. And if he's out even longer due to protocol, that series is going to be over.
And that's what I mean. Like that could be a not even just like a small mistake by Darvin Ham, but a like grave mistake by Darvin Ham. If they end up losing the series, that'd be brutal, because they're not. Look, to be honest, and they're not going to get another shot at it.
I brought JYD here, and I know he's got to go, so I'm going to ask him one question here. I brought him on here, special guest on NBA Jump Ball here on the Fired Up Network. Hey, JYD, everybody's watching you, millions and millions. So I got to ask you this question. Raptors are looking for a new head coach. They talk about JJ Redick. Has Masai Ujiri called you? And of course, if he has, am I the assistant coach, the president of the provinces of Canada?
No. Question one and two is do your TV show. Because on that side of the NBA, I need X's and O's. I need guys that can draw up plays and know that LeBron knows the corner play where, you fade to the corner and get Clay open. LeBron has seen that 20,000 times, Steve Kerr. So, Joel, you don't make that cut for those reasons, right? You're going up against some of the best players in the NBA, and we know enough of these plays like the back of our hands. So if you don't have that knowledge off the top, sorry, you can't be on my staff. But shout out.
All right, hold on. You said
JJ. Yeah.
You said X's and O's. You said X's and O's. That means Drew Ebanks hugs and kisses always plays for you on your team, right? You don't want toughness. You don't want fortitude. You want kisses, hugs and kisses, X's and O's like Drew Ebanks, Captain Canada.
Wow. Drew, I'm going to let that slide, man. Thanks for having me on the show. Dogtown.
All right, that's Junkyard Dog, Jerome Williams. I'll see you later, JYD.
Oh, man.
See you.
And happy birthday. Happy birthday. It was
So
his
cool.
birthday 2 days ago. So we'll close it out with a Raptors talk. Alex, I know you're still stunned. You have the president of the provinces of Canada and the Junkyard Dog, Jerome Williams. And Drew, this is proof. If he's still complimenting you, he's barking up the wrong tree. All right, so let's get to the Raptors now. There's talk of JJ Redick, and I told you they talked to Becky Hammond. And like I said here, Drew, a couple weeks ago, they did and are talking to Damon Stoudemire. All right, it looks like he's making an extensive coaching search. If you have the book here, anybody in the world to be the next Raptor head coach, except you, because I want a winning season, not losing season. All right, except you. Who would it be?
Man, there's so many coaches out there that you could pick out. You could look at a Mark Jackson if you want to bring somebody back with a lot of extensive experience. There was also talk about Jerry Stackhouse, who coached the 905 to an NBA title. Those are kind of guys I would look at. I'm not a huge fan of the JJ Redick. I think everybody's just going crazy over JJ Redick because he's been, boopsing Stephen A few times. I just think we don't want to bring somebody who hasn't had coaching experience. I think that's key. You need to have somebody that has pedigree along the sidelines. Becky Hammond would be a great choice too. I've heard nothing but positives about what she can do, and obviously is a great player also. So there are some names there that could be thrown out to the Raptors. Coach Buds Budenholzer, maybe he's somebody that they consider. I'm personally not a huge fan. Not saying he can't coach, but I just don't think he's proven to be able to be that guy that can make those, kind of on the fly decisions that win games and win series for his team. But he's got experience. He won a title. So you got to bring him in, I think, to talk to him and check things out. But even David Stoudemire, like, as you mentioned, Mighty Mouse, he's had coaching experience. He's a Toronto favorite. Would love to have him come in and speak to the Raptors as well. So there's a lot of candidates. I think the Raptors really should take their time right here and pick the best person for the job.
All right, Alex, I know you're not based out of Toronto, but what are your thoughts? I want, somebody who's not based out of Toronto, because Drew is Captain Canada. He's biased.
I hear you. Yeah, I mean, so there are a lot of coaches available right now. Like, kind of what Drew said. I mean, it's a kind of remarkable that 3 of the last 4 championship coaches are now unemployed. I mean, Nick Nurse is one of them, but at the same time, like, there are a lot that are available right now. So, I don't really love the Redick pick either. I really don't. One guy that nobody's talking about being available that I think will be. And maybe not from a firing, but would be willing to leave his current spot would be Ty Lue. To me, I can't think of a more talented coach that's really, grown up, the way he has as a coach and just done better and better and better. Look, he's got a Clippers team that's willing to win every night, not even knowing if their top 2 stars will be there. You know what I mean? Like, that's remarkable. And I don't know also with that exact same issue, how long can you put up with that with Kawhi Leonard as a coach? That's has to be frustrating. I think any employment situation where, you can't depend on someone is tough. And so that has to be frustrating for a coach. And to know in the back of his mind that you're probably not going to win a title with that team based on that lackadaisic nature of your star. Maybe he looks to leave, and if he does, that would be a great candidate, basically, for any open position.
I'll tell you who's a great candidate, and we touched on, and then we'll go more Raptors. But coach of Philadelphia, I have heard whispers that if he loses this series, now up 3-2. What's this? What are you doing?
Doc Rivers, buddy. I'm sorry. Not having it.
Yeah.
Not having it. I've seen too much of the follies from Doc Rivers to understand, he's not going to get the job done. I'm a no. I'm a straight no.
Especially if he loses this series. If he loses this series, that'd be 3-1 series that he's lost, and now 3-2. That doesn't look good. You know what I mean? Like that.
He should finally win one here. But if he loses it, hell no, definitely no Doc Rivers.
All right, so Drew, you're Captain Canada on Saturday. Drew, by the way, are you going to the game on Saturday here at Scotiabank Arena?
So.
The WNBA. Be quiet, I'm talking. The WNBA comes to Canada, and we're going to have a cornucopia of fans. Everybody, I hear the media is packed. Now I'm going to ask Captain Canada, onpointbasketball.com, the guy who's on point on location. Are you going to be on point on location? Because unbeknownst to him, I'm going to do something right now. Did you get a media pass?
I did not.
All right. Enough. I don't want to hear the shenanigans. Would you like to go as a media to the Scotiabank Arena Saturday to witness the WNBA?
Sure, it would be great. Me and one of my
No. Me. Stop thinking about me. All right. I asked you, would you like to go?
Sure.
All right. As you know, Friday night, Maple Leafs are playing the Florida Panthers outside Maple Leaf Square. There's millions and millions of people watching the Maple Leafs beat Florida 5-2. All right. By the way, watch that prediction come through. All right, Drew Ebanks, do you want to do something for Fired Up Network? I'm sending you to Scotiabank Arena, Maple Leaf Square, to witness the game on the Jumbotron. What does that mean? Alex, he's saying no. Would you pass up that opportunity, Alex?
To witness the game on the Jumbotron?
Yes.
Hell to
It's
the
history in
no.
the making, Alex. It's history in the making. By the way, that game
In all
starts at
seriousness,
3:30.
we have someone going to the WNBA game, but the whole process, I don't know what the process was about. We lucked out by having someone who shoots for us down there, but I have been declined for any additional people. So on point as far as myself being there to get some interviews, talk to the
All right,
ladies,
hold on, Drew.
will not be in the building.
Since this is my job, since you don't want to ruffle feathers.
No,
Alex,
I'm good.
I ruffle feathers. I ruffle feathers. I ruffle a nest. I ruffle everything. Now look, whoever's in charge of this WNBA game here at the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto on Saturday at 3:30. By the way, it's I think on TSN, but whatever. All right, shame on you. Shame on you. This guy, Drew Ebanks, onpointbasketball.com, Captain Canada, no royalties. All right, he's on point on location. He does high school, college, men, ladies, boys, girls, everything, and he drives 5 hours away just to cover a high school game and all that. You do not give him a pass. Why? Is somebody better than him covering the men, the ladies, in high school, in college, in professional basketball? Shame on you. Give me the guy's name. Give me the guy's name. Let's call him out. Give me the guy's name, Drew.
I'm not calling any names.
All right. The guy's name is Jabroni. That's a jabroni move. All right. First of all, Fired Up Network, we're number one. We're on TV. We're on radio. We're on everything. But Drew Ebanks, on point, on location. I'm going to send them to Maple Leaf Square. He's going to be on location right in front of the Jumbotron. And Drew, maybe if you're good, maybe I could extend it. Maybe you'll stay there for 24 hours. I'll send you on Friday to cover the Maple Leafs beating the Florida Panthers. How do you like that? But we do have a Canadian in that game on Saturday. You want to speak on that?
Well, in the game on Saturday, we should have two. Bridget Carlton and Natalie Achonwa should be suiting up.
No, Natalie Achonwa, I think she's pregnant, right?
Okay, well, yeah, there you go. If she is, then she's
I just gave the guy a whole glory thing, and look, Alex just tells you I'm the president.
Bridget Carlton is in the mix. Bottom line, we'll have somebody there taking photos. Thank goodness Amanda will be there. But as I said, I will not be there on the sidelines, interviewing in the back. Kind of giving glory to the ladies. Unfortunately, it is what it is. This is the Toronto media landscape. We're not able to be there with our full team. It would be wonderful, but we'll still watch the game and support it.
All right, so I'm gonna go to Alex, and then I'll close it out with one of my ruffle of feathers. All right, so Alex, WNBA, where you are, is it? Are people talking about the season's a couple weeks ago is starting? Are they talking about? I believe you're in Boston, right?
Correct. Yeah, I mean, I not a lot of like local talk about the WNBA, but I think we're still kind of a buzz from the women's Final Four, aren't we? I mean, and we're anxious to see those ladies in the WNBA. I think that women's basketball is in a really good spot. It's taken so long to get to where it is that we have to be temper expectations about this moment in time. You know what I mean? I think the WNBA is in a good spot, but let's not get carried away and think that like it's gonna rival the NFL anytime soon in the ratings or anything.
All right, Alex, start us off by telling everybody how they get a hold of you.
Yeah, on Twitter, I'm Alex Campbell 517. I'm here on the Fired Up Network all the time. Check out my stories. I normally crossover basketball articles on the Fired Up Network. And yeah, that's it.
FiredUpNetwork.ca. All right, Drew. Anything you want to talk about Canadian basketball before I ruffle some feathers for you because you don't want to do it?
Yeah, just quickly, I want to say big kudos to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander making the
big up. Come on.
first team. What an accomplishment. I mean, he played incredible from start to finish. Hopefully, this is the first of many for Shea to get things done at that level. And watch out for Shaden Sharp. I think you'll be seeing him on an all-NBA team very, very soon. People haven't seen yet what he could fully do once he's unleashed. So shout out to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. And also, again, shout out to the ladies coming here to Toronto. I heard it's going to be a big, big, big affair. They got the NBA restaurant, NBA courtside restaurant. I've heard the Chicago Sky have that bought out for Saturday. So a lot of WNBA personnel are going to be in town for the game. Historic a game. And, as we've talked about many times here, Joe, and you've broke the story that Toronto will be having a WNBA team in the very near future. So that's great for Canadian basketball, great for the ladies coming up. And as usual, you can find me at On Point Basketball on Instagram, Drew Ebanks on Twitter, and onpointbasketball.com. And also, just quickly, there is a free Raptors 905 coaching clinic coming up. That is in mid-June. So make sure you go check onpointbasketball.com. You'll see the details. You can register there. A free coaching clinic courtesy of the Raptors 905.
All right, and number two to that, CBL starts in a couple weeks.
Yes,
starters and
got my season tickets for Scarborough. Hopefully, you can come with me for one game, Joe. Come on now.
Listen, man, I got my security staff, Norm Rumack, my security, and everything like that. When the president
Norm's your security detail?
yes,
Norm, I believe him too. Norm is security. He
is security, man. He's serious security. But listen, I'm going to say something here, okay? And I say it, and Drew, I know you're going to blush here, but I say it all the time. I've been a veteran of the sports media for about 30 years. You, with Global, with On Point Basketball, with everything, with the fam, with everything, you're one of the big proponents of Toronto basketball here. Before there was Raptors, there was Drew Ebanks, Norm Rumack, myself, Leo Routins. Okay, we got, and I'm going to take credit, we got Toronto on the map for NBA. If there's somebody here who gets Toronto on the map for ladies, WNBA, because when he was talking basketball, he was talking also men, ladies, girls, and boys. Nobody did that except this guy. Okay? And no matter I joke with him or whatever, but that is 100,000% the truth. So shame on anybody who doesn't give or doesn't even call, or we don't know anything how to get accreditation for an exhibition game, not a championship game, not a playoff game, not a regular season game, an exhibition game. Are you telling me there's 200 media available for an exhibition game and more important than Fired Up Network or On Point Basketball? Come on, give your head a shake. All right? If I have to call Stephen A. Smith or Junkyard Dog to bark up the tree at the WNBA, I will. Come on. This is history in the making. And you don't get a guy who's on point, on location for the men, for the ladies, for the girls, for the high school, for the colleges, for everything. Shame on you guys. Shame on you guys. And Drew, I'll extend this. You still want to go to the Scotiabank Arena? I'll send you at the Maple Leaf Square, and I'll talk to my good friend Norm Jessen, who has some tickets. I'll get you nosebleed seats for $5. I'm willing to pay $5 to send Captain Canada to the WNBA, and it's true. We're not talking about a championship game. We're not talking about a playoff game. We're not even talking about a regular season game. We're talking about a pre-season game, the first of its kind in Canada. Yes, you're going to have a team by 2025-26. It's going to be here in Toronto. WNBA is coming. This is the first step, and I'm going to spoil it more since I spoil it everything and nobody gives me credit because I'm very fluent. All right? I'll spill it out here. The WNBA not only is coming to Toronto next year, they're coming to Montreal and possibly Vancouver. I told you, Drew, there's 3 games next year from the WNBA, and book it, bank it, whatever you want to do. If I'm wrong, Drew Eubanks will shave his head. All right? And fans who are watching and going to the game on Saturday, get up, cheer loud, be a fan. You're witnessing history in the making. It doesn't matter if it's men, ladies, whatever. It's basketball, and the ladies put on a show. They put on a show. Drew, you want to have last comment here?
Oh, that's it. I mean, good luck to both teams. I hope it's a great game, and we'll be watching from my couch right here in downtown Toronto. All the best. Go, ladies.
Do you have a good couch there? Like, do you extend me to your palatial estates or what?
55-inch TV. I'm good. We good here.
Only at 55. My inches are bigger.
Surround
All right,
sound
on that
is
note,
good.
you've been watching NBA Jump Ball here on the Fired Up Network. Thanks to Alex Campbell and Captain Canada, Drew Eubanks. Thanks a lot, guys. That was an outstanding edition of NBA Jump Ball with Captain Canada, Drew Eubanks of OnPointBasketball.com, as well as Alex Campbell of Fired Up Network, and making a special appearance, the Junkyard Dog, Jerome Williams, former Raptor, and stay tuned, myself and the Junkyard Dog may be cooking up something, maybe woof, woof, woofing something, all right? So you never know. Just download Mometu, watch it on Roku, watch it on Amazon Fire TV, and download Mometu, Fired Up Network, coming bigger, badder, and better than ever. We're going to have special guests, and speaking about special guests, the icon, yes, the icon in hockey is going to join us right now. Digit Murphy on the NHL Lowdown. New Jersey, Carolina just started out. We preview that game on the NHL Lowdown. Digit will be back here tomorrow evening to preview Game 5 of the Maple Leafs Florida Panthers game at the Scotiabank Arena. 7 p.m. is that game, but I digress. Here's a preview. Here's NHL Lowdown, and this is specifically one of the better shows that we have done. Gotta watch this. Here we go. Hey everybody, this is Joseph Pasek, and welcome to the Fired Up Network. Welcome to the NHL Lowdown / Maple Leafs Forever with the icon, the legend, Digit Murphy. By the way, Digit, yeah, bang them out. We're talking about the Maple Leafs later. As I predicted.
I predicted.
You didn't predict. Anyways, let's get.
I said Toronto this game, and then next game is going to be, I hate to say it, Panthers.
No, you know what's going to happen?
Yes.
I'll tell you. You know what's going to. It's so apropos. The Maple Leafs win yesterday, win Friday, win Sunday, and then Game 7 in Toronto. Everybody, we're making a comeback of the ages.
You're dreaming.
They lose 7-0.
Dreaming. Oh, well, okay. Dreaming. I'm wearing my Panther red today. Even though I like...
This show is now over. Thanks for coming out. This show is now over.
No. We just need to talk reality. All
right, you want reality? Tonight, 7 p.m. All right, 7 p.m. It is New Jersey into Carolina. Carolina after the winning, leading 3-1. Is it over for New Jersey?
Over. Carolina red on, not New Jersey red today. Carolina is just too big and overwhelming for the Devils. And on my heart, I want the Devils, but my head says Carolina over. Kaput.
All right, so Carolina.
How about you?
I think you're right. I actually think you're right. New Jersey gave it all, but Carolina, and this is surprising to me. Like I said at the beginning of the show here, when we first started, I'm surprised that Carolina, they have injuries, a lot of injuries, and they're coming through and showing with even injuries, and they're winning games, not like the Maple Leafs 3-2, 5-1, 6-1, 5-2 games. So they're winning it. I'm not going to say handily. Okay. So
they're powerful. They're a powerful team. I think they're going to be a tough opponent.
And nobody's talking about Rob Brind'Amour. Like give this guy some props there. Rob Brind'Amour is doing a fantastic job
He's the man. I love him. I love the way he played as a player. Nose first. Like, you see that guy? He's got quite the hunker, and he's unbelievable. But he was always in there fighting, and his teams, you can just see that they love him. Like, they love him. And he's a player's coach. I love, this is what I love. I watch him on the bench, and there'll be a controversial call, right? And he's just looking around, and he looks to his assistant. He's like, no, like, he's not one of these guys that, like, is a whiner, complainer, baby. He's, I hate to say, he's a man's man. He's in there, and the players love him. And Brindamore, you know me, I love coaches, right? I think coaches make the energy that make the team go. And that's why his team's in. I mean, don't take anything away from his talent, but it's coaching and players working together to win a Stanley Cup.
He reminds me of one person, the president of the provinces of Canada. To Florida, nothing else bothers. When the Maple Leafs lose, he's never mind. He's never mind. All right. So you're saying Carolina at beating New Jersey, moving on to the Eastern Conference Final. Now let's get to tonight, 9:30. 9:30. We got a game again. Seattle into Dallas. And you've been talking about the Kraken, but 2-2 Seattle. If you look at any team who's left, look at Seattle. Yes, they have Jordan Eberle and the Rookie of the Year, presumably. Okay, but name for name, Seattle's right at the bottom. But you know what they have? They have guys who can work, keep the nose in the faces and everything, and grind. And this is why, and I'm going to say it, the Maple Leafs, why they won yesterday, because they finally Marner was blocking shots. Matthews was blocking shots. You go ahead.
That's got to be consistent, though, right? You hit the nail on the head. It's consistent play over and over again. And I agree with you. I think Kraken have the players, the grinders, but Joe, grinders are not going to win a Stanley Cup. I hate to say it, but you have to have that unique combination of both. I love them. I want them to win. I don't think either of these teams is going to go on and win the Stanley Cup. I'm just going to go out there and say that. But I want to take, in your footprint here, I want to take the Kraken again, just because I love to say the Kraken, the crackety crack, the crackheads. No, I don't want to say crackheads because that's bad. But crack. I want the crack. People want the crack. So I want that. But Dallas, they're good too. But let's go with the crack.
It's 2-2 here, and if the Kraken wins, you want to pray for the Seattle fans. They're going to be off the charts at Climate Pledge Arena. And by the way, that a new arena in the Seattle, they got that arena. I didn't go to it, but I hear amazing things from it. Amazing things. Go ahead.
It reminds me a little bit of the Vegas energy and the Magic when they were just getting into their feet under them, right? It's that's newness. And you hit it on the head the other day, Joe. It's all these markets outside of your major, old school, traditional, stodgy, beer drinking, beer chugging. We're going to puke on people and kick the crap out of people. We need energy in hockey. We need new fans. And these new franchises, even Tampa. I know I keep coming back to Tampa, but they were it 20 years ago. Remember when St. Louis was there and they brought the energy to that Stanley Cup? Like, it was a newness. It was a new energy. And these are what these new franchises in these different markets are bringing. And I'll tell you another reason why. Nashville, North Carolina, Dallas, Florida, Seattle, Vegas, all these untraditional markets are bringing new fans to hockey. These places are not going to lose money. They have done their market research. The NHL teams that come into these markets with this new, fresh energy, they got it going on. So kudos to them, and good luck to the Kraken tonight.
All right, we'll be talking about Maple Leafs forever tomorrow night. You're going to be on here because the pregame of the Maple Leafs. But I want to talk about what you talked about, new teams. Okay, there's always talk. Gary Bettman may want to expand, or bring back a team to Quebec City, to Kansas City, to Houston, and all that. Let's give me a team from the East, a team from the West, and like I say you're the icon, you're the Digit Murphy, the Don Cherry, female hockey. Where would you put a team in the National Hockey League? Forget about ladies hockey for a second. In the National Hockey League, that you've been around all over the world here. You know that hockey deserves there.
Yeah. That's an interesting question because out in the East, we're pretty saturated. I think Atlanta did a good job coming back. That would have been my pick before they were coming back, just because of the business model, the people moving to Atlanta. It's hot. You got one in North Carolina. I'm looking for the saturation. There's a lot of saturated markets in the East, but maybe out in Columbus is there. They're doing okay. I would say maybe somewhere in the Midwest. Yeah, you stumped me on that one. I got the West in my head. I'm
Kansas
thinking,
City, Houston.
Yeah, Kansas City maybe. I don't know about Houston, Joe. I don't know how many hockey teams you can put in Texas.
What
So
about
I'm
New
not a big.
Orleans? New Orleans is known as a party city. New Orleans, something about New Orleans would remind me of Nashville.
I think you're right. I think New Orleans could be you got the New Orleans Saints. I'm trying to think of even the baseball team. They don't have a baseball team
No, they
there,
don't have
right?
it.
I
They
mean,
have the Hornets. They have basketball.
yeah, but I'm thinking like that hockey might be somewhere that those, people could be crazy about it. I think once people start to understand hockey, they love hockey. And I hate to say it, but the fighting a little bit, people like it. They like the action.
Oh, what do you mean you hate to say it? What do you mean you
Well,
hate to say it?
you know why I hate to say it? Because as a mom, I know that sometimes that piece of the game deters a certain population of fans. I mean, I know football is very violent, but to actually allow fighting, I think is a deterrent. I love to see hard hitting action, but I think when you put the fight into it, fans love it. It's like WWE. We don't want to talk about that, but WWE fighting, it's a tough one, in WWE, it's not really
It's
legit. But when
scripted.
you're seeing people bleeding and moms go, "Whoa!" I don't know if I
Listen,
want my kid to play that.
listen. For those fans who don't know, she's negotiating with the WWE. That's why she brought it up. I did not bring it up. She brought it
You
up.
bring it up every time.
Yeah, but I did not bring it up this time. So
Well,
let me ask you a serious question here. In the States, you're American, all that. They they look at Canada as, oh, it's cold, it's snowy, and all that, and does the word hockey. They like hockey. They know about hockey. They know. Is it still because in 1980, 1990s? Yes, that's what they were saying. Honestly, to be honest with you, what are they saying now in 2023?
I honestly I don't see hockey being like a major player in our market unless some major changes happen. And the real reason why, Joe, it's the easiest reason. There just aren't enough rinks, right? And with global warming and everything happening, you have less people playing it, you have less rinks. I really think we've got to get the word out with ball hockey, street hockey, roller hockey. And I think that there's enough people that I think can understand the transition to the ice hockey that could continue to make us an elite sport. But the lack of arenas everywhere in the United States has always held hockey back. It's easy to put a basketball hoop up in the driveway. It's easier to go kick a soccer ball out in the field. It's easier to throw a football out in the field. But you can't mimic the skating motion of ice. And, that's always been a deterrent. So I think it's up to the hockey powers that be to figure out how do we transition that fan support from a on your feet in the driveway game over to the ice. So I think it's still not going to be a major player. It's always going to be a fourth or fifth in line sport.
So
Just telling the truth.
Here's a question that I never asked you, and it just came to mind actually. You're a big proponent of ladies hockey. We'll touch on that in a couple minutes, okay? But let's say I put you as an executive in the National Hockey League. So you don't have to be handcuffed with what you're handcuffed in the ladies hockey, right? And I'm going to be carte blanche here, okay? What would you change? Would you change anything? Would you give a team that is not a team? Would you take out a team? Would you change the rules? Like, honestly, this is a good question because, this is Digit Murphy. You've been in hockey 40 years, let's say 30 years, right?
40.
40 years, all right? Nobody has ever
Actually,
asked
more
you this
than that.
question. Okay? Okay, more than that. But maybe nobody has asked you this question. Take away what you're facing in ladies hockey, and now you're the queen of hockey, the National Hockey League. What would you change? What would you add? What would you don't have you're not handcuffed, you're not owners this and that and fighting the losing battle. You are the queen of the National Hockey League on top of the
So I
mountain.
have the magic wand.
Yes.
Wand.
Yes. Can you make me
I
rich,
think
by the way? I need to sign a $12 million deal.
it always comes back to you. I love that. I love that about you. I love that about men. It's all about them.
No, it's not
No.
always about men. It's the president of the provinces
The
of Canada. Not
provinces
many
of
people can
Canada.
say that.
I get it. I know who you are. I got to get you the crown next. You and King Charles. All right. So, personally, I think that have to educate people about the game of hockey. I think hockey is a difficult game for the average person to understand. So, I think it's a community-based initiative. It's really reaching out to find those fans that you never have or never thought you would have by making players more accessible, by making hockey more accessible in all communities. Again, I talked about earlier, you don't have a rink, forget it. We don't care about you. I think you need to start to care about the average population. That's number one. And you hit the nail on the head. I keep saying the nail on the head, but I would change the rules and I would introduce a 2-point shot. I've said it in women's hockey before. I would introduce a 2-point shot. And here's why. Listen to me. Here's why. So all these games in the Stanley Cup that are 6-1, 5-1 blowouts would be completely changed. And here's why. We played it one time in an event that, Jerry Solomon, Nancy Kerrigan, like they're married. He's a friend of mine. And he put on an event in 2018 called the Aurora Games. And we did a 2-point shot. And all it is like lacrosse. Because again, I did lacrosse. So I, said we should do a 2-point shot. He's like, tell me more about it. And he's a promoter. So he's like, I love it. So we created a rule where there's an arc from top of the circles to top of the circles, and you put an arc there, just like on a lacrosse field, from the hash to the hash, both ends. Very simple rule. Any puck that's driven from behind that line or on that line and ends up into the net, could be tipped in, could be, deflected in, doesn't matter. If the energy starts from outside that circle, 2 points. And here's why that's important. It encourages shots from everywhere, but it also keeps the game in reach for every team. And this was the best thing. We had a 2-1 game. Okay. Whoa. 2-1 game in the finals. All right. You score a goal at 2-1, you pull the goalie, you win. Yeah. You win the game. You just don't tie it. You win it. So strategy comes into play. You're always in the game. Imagine 6-1 game. You need 3 goals to win.
So I'm going to ask you, is that your number one change that you would do?
For the rules? I would figure out a way also to speed the game up. It might be not have as many between periods, not have as much time between periods. Make the players more tired.
Well, the NHL has 18-minute intermission.
Because of the ice, because of the Zambonis. I would try to make that as small, as limited as possible, so that you can get more time. Less time. So a hockey game takes less time. So you can get it on TV. And I would also, maybe because I know they want people to go eat and stuff. See, this is the other issue, right? This is a business model, right? You want people to have time to go get the food. I'm saying from a pure hockey perspective and a spectator perspective on television, these kind of plays I would make, because here's why. Say you only have 10 minutes, right? Or 5 minutes, if you could figure out a way to do the Zamboni, or don't even do the ice. I don't know. Players get tired. They make mistakes. Leads to more goals. I don't know. There's just try to get your core kind of vision in mind. And it's always money, right? Because it's money, then you're going to keep the fighting in. and you're going to keep that long periods, right? So people can pay money. But if your mission was to grow the game, Joe, maybe now you're doing more initiatives out into the community and you're, looking to get more fans and you're going to change the 2-point shot or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? So it really is going to depend on your mission. And my mission would be different than theirs because I'm unfortunately never about the money, right? The players, they just get paid so much freaking money, Joe. So much money. And to me, it's absurd. It's absurd. As a woman, as someone that cares about the betterment of the planet, millions and billions of dollars just doesn't make sense. So if I could, I would probably, they would hate me. But if I had the magic wand, I might make it more reasonable.
So one thing that I talk to my friends about and everything like that, and want your opinion on this. The NFL is the most successful sports in North America, I would say, because gambling. But here's the NFL. What they do? They start 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Okay, they start 1 o'clock. 1:01 is kickoff. When there's a game in hockey that says starting 7 o'clock, but they start 7:15, why don't they do the national anthems if it's 7 o'clock at 6:50, drop the puck at 7:02?
That's what we do. That's what we do in our games. And you know what it is? It's commercials, right? It's sponsors. There's a lot of money on the back end to do like the report, the scouting report. It's got to do a lot, Joe, with sponsorship.
And you see TV nowadays doing split screens. Well, you go, there's I don't know how many commercial breaks, they pause in the 10-minute mark, in the 6-minute mark left. So add one more commercial break. The players would like it. Would like it and all that. There you go. So start, instead of 7, you cut down 13 minutes right off the top.
I know. I think it's a little crazy that you don't start right on time. It kind of annoys me because I go to tune in and I'm like, oh, Jesus, it said 7, it's 7:23 or whatever. So I agree with you. But, I don't have the magic wand. I don't really know the optics or the revenue behind it. So I would think it was that. I know.
And here's the other thing and we're going into this, but I'll say this. I've been a big proponent of it. And hopefully Gary Bettman, when I see him in synagogue, I'll tell them this, right? I'll tell them this. Why? If you want to make the All-Star game the number one All-Star game there is, because All-Star game, let's face it, are crap. Why not play the ladies with the men? Marie-Philippe Poulin playing with Sidney Crosby, playing with Connor McDavid.
That'd be a lot of fun. That'd be a lot of fun.
There's no checking in All-Star games, all right? And I want to see a lady give a guy a check. Justin Hall, maybe you got to get an elbow to the head. Come on. But
I think like the All-Star games are they're more for fun and entertainment. And I don't want to say it's not like basketball, right? Where you're making those like crazy jumps and maneuvers. I just don't see hockey. They've got to do a better job assessing their talents. I mean, I like the hardest shot. Like I think people want to see, oh my God, that was 120 miles an hour or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But on the women's side, I do like the showcasing of the talent. I did like that 4-on-4 or 3-on-3. I would love to see men and women, together. But again, Joe, you got, how many games are we playing? 90 games in the men's side. I mean, plus the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So I guess the other magic wand for me would be to reduce the number of games. The horse is out of the barn though. They pay the players so much money now. The expectation is to play them more, and the only way you can pay them that much is to have 90 games. So, I mean, to me, these are all problems that we've created for ourselves, right?
What do you think in the ladies' game? Now I'll go to the ladies. Needs the most fixing up? Obviously pay, but anything else?
See, I don't think it's pay, honestly.
Really?
I think that I think a little bit of what's happened is we've gotten ahead of ourselves with the pay. I think it's facilities, I think it's getting the revenue streams in order. It's getting sponsors on board. It's getting exposure. I honestly think the pay is way ahead of the revenue drivers that we have right now in the game. I think it's still up in the air with do we have a sustainable model? When you got 1.5 or $1 million or $750,000 salary cap, where's the revenue behind it? And that's what we all have to solve in women's sports, because I don't think it's just hockey. Because when you look at even soccer, right? Say Angel City owns a hockey soccer team. We are dependent upon the money of influencers in that model, right? You don't want to always be dependent upon some rich dude or gal, right? You want to be dependent upon the people that love your brand and want to come out year after year, game after game, and support you. So that's why the NHL literally has gone from whatever they played back in 1972 number of games to what they have now, because you have to support the growth of the expense that you have. And I really think that women's sports is doing itself a disservice if we don't just look this in the eye, go into the teeth of the lion and go, how do we drive revenue? And come up with an honest answer and go out to the community and be us. We are not men's sports. Lean into the fact that we're women, we do it differently, and it's okay to do it differently, and people will love that.
All right, so I'm gonna ask you one other thing here. With men, ladies, hockey, and all that, and like you said, it's really number 5 in North America. Soccer has passed it, and soccer's coming up big, and some, tennis, when you have Wimbledon, US Open, people watch that and all that. Hockey, would you say, is a niche sport?
I would say hockey is a global sport. I don't think it's a niche sport because I think that it's known worldwide. I would say it's a regional sport, and it has grown into a global sport, but it's definitely a regional sport. You've traditionally only played it in cold climates.
Yeah.
And I think that's what held us back, just like the arenas have held us back. So I think we're doing damn well for, being a regional sport that's grown globally, that has an Olympic presence, that has all these heroes, leaders, and role models. I do think what's going to hold us back in the future is the lack of diversity in our sport. And by that, I mean, you don't see a lot of originally completely white bread sport, right? And I think the world is moving to a much more diverse community, and we need to do more to include people of diverse backgrounds, including women, in the game. So I think those would be some of the things that I would put to the test for the NHL, or I would if I had the magic wand.
Okay, Digit, we're closing out the NHL lowdown. She'll be back tomorrow. I want you to wear the same Florida red because it pisses me off. I'll wear the same shirt. All right, I'll wear the same shirt. You wear the Florida red. Tomorrow, Maple Leaf game pre-game show, Digit Murphy will be on. But Digit, tell everybody how they could get a hold of you. And the final question, I always ask it. Anything new that you could say about your negotiations with the WWE?
Ready?
It's a no mouth open match. A no mouth open match. That's what you're having. All right.
So
go ahead.
Digit Murphy at Digit Murphy everywhere on the planet. PlayItForwardSport.org and support a player. Give us $200 so a player can come to our clinic. It's really about kids. It's about growing the game. We are doing an unsung hero clinic down in Rhode Island here with a bunch of young women who are going to be coaching these young players and giving them an opportunity. So anyone that wants to donate to PlayItForwardSport.org, please go out there. But you can look me up at Digit Murphy. I'm here for you. I'm here for hockey. I'm here for women's opportunities. And that's why I come up on the Fired Up Network, because I love Joe. He's always given us opportunity. And go women, go ladies, go hockey, go NHL. And go Toronto.
Hold on. That's what I'm saying. Tune in tomorrow for the pregame show featuring Digit Murphy. By the way, I will try my best for her not to pick Florida. Thanks a lot, Digit.
Have a great one.
That was Digit Murphy with the NHL Lowdown. And we're going to throw to Courtney Riddell with Bounce Mama in just a couple seconds. But the NFL, yes, the National Football League, has come out with their schedule. And I'm not going to go through 18 weeks because Marty Roberts will kill me. But here are maybe a couple highlights, and then I'll come in. The first game of the season, Thursday, September 7th, 8:20 p.m., the Kansas City Chiefs, being the Super Bowl champions, will host the Detroit Lions. Also week 1, September 10th, 1 p.m., Carolina, Atlanta, Houston, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Jacksonville, Indianapolis, Tampa Bay at Minnesota, Tennessee, New Orleans, San Fran, Pittsburgh, Arizona at Washington, 4:25 week 1, Green Bay, Chicago, the Raiders, Denver, Miami, and the Chargers. Tom Brady will return to New England to honor himself. It will be Philadelphia at New England at 4:25, the Rams and Seattle at 4:25, the Sunday Nighter for week 1, the Dallas Cowboys at the New York Giants, and Monday Night Football, week 1, my Buffalo Bills go to New York to take on Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. Yes, Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. That is September 11th. There, week 2 starts off Thursday, September 14th. Minnesota at Philadelphia at 8:15. Buffalo's home opener happens Sunday, September 17th, with the Raiders at Buffalo at 1 o'clock. Also, week 2, we'll have the Sunday Nighter, Miami at New England, and two Monday Night Football games, New Orleans at Carolina, Cleveland at Pittsburgh. And just a side note here that they're going to have three football games on Christmas Day. 1 o'clock, the Raiders and Kansas City. 4:30, New England or New York Giants at Philadelphia. And 8:15, another good one, Baltimore at San Fran. And that's Christmas Eve night also at 8:15, New England at Denver. 4:25, Dallas at Miami. The Bills, by the way, that week on Saturday, December 23rd, 8 o'clock, Buffalo at the Chargers. All right. So those are some highlights of the NFL schedule that just was released minutes ago. And we're going to throw it to Courtney Riddell with Renaissance Mama.
Hi, friends. I'm Courtney. I'm a performer, speaker, and a writer. I'm a mama to 3 crazy boys and a super sweet dog. I decided 12 years ago that I needed to create a business that worked for me instead of me working for it. I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur who may be considered a serial entrepreneur by some, but then I realized that all of my businesses focused on connection, community, and creating an incredible experience. I cannot wait to share with you how to make small but mighty changes in your life to affect your overall well-being and create a life and business you want to get up in the morning for. That's right, my friends. I am the Renaissance Mama.
Hi, friends. It's me, Courtney, the Renaissance Mama, and I am so excited for my special guest today. Please help me welcome Devin Garcia from Stretch Love Yoga. Hi, Devin.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for coming. I think this is going to be such a wonderful topic for my audience. I can't wait for them to hear all about you, what you do, what you're all about, and hopefully for them to take away some fabulous tips and tricks and strategies.
Yeah, totally.
So, Devin, can you please let my audience know who you are and what you're known for?
Yes, I'm Devin Garcia, and I am the founder of Stretch Love Yoga. I'm a yoga teacher, and I've been teaching for probably about 13-ish years now. And I'm a super flexible person who had like no strength when I started. So through a lot of training and education and trial and error, I found how to become more flexible with stability in a safe way. So I also teach flexibility now for people who want to take it to the next level in their practice. And most importantly, I'm a mama to a 21-month-old daughter.
That's so exciting. I love that. Oh my goodness. So what do you think? And I'm sure there's a whole bunch of things, but what is like one of your favorite things about teaching yoga?
I absolutely love helping people to reach their goals. And I love planting those little seeds to help them get beyond just the physical portion of their practice, because I know that's how most people start. They just want like exercise or better range of motion, but hopefully over time it helps them with stress and anxiety and other things as well.
Is that what you find? Like, is that the number one thing when people come to you looking to learn yoga? They're like, okay, I want to move my body. I've been told this yoga thing is good. Or like, what do you find when people come to you? What are they really looking for?
Oh, absolutely. So pre-pandemic, I was teaching at studios and gyms and in a lot of in-person.
Yeah.
And those big classes I had, a lot of people were like, wow, her flexibility is so interesting. So people would come up to me and afterwards and be like, oh, I want to learn how to do something like the splits or deep back bends. So they would initially come to me to learn those kind of trick poses.
Yeah. They're party tricks, right? They want to be like, wait a second, you want to see something?
Yeah. And like being a mom, being like, I could still do this.
Right?
Yeah. And then the ones who stick around really, they want to hit those trick poses, but they also, it helps them, especially really stressed out people, to like have some me time and calm down a bit.
I bet. And I bet for you, like, I don't know if you agree, but like I did musical theater for years. So that was my background, but I also was like an athlete. So my muscles were very strong and tense all the time. So then I'd come to ballet class and I remember them being like, oh my God, like your legs, like it's just so, but on top of that, what I found out is that I held so much tension in my muscles, right? And all experiences and traumas and things like that. And I clearly remember being like early 20s in the middle of a ballet class, doing some sort of yoga pose, and then something almost inside of me just releasing. And all of a sudden I started crying and I had to be like, excuse me, I need to go to the bathroom. But like, do you find that you notice that sometimes in your clients that they're just holding the tension and the trauma and all the things so tight?
Absolutely. Even me, like I like I said, a very flexible person, but when I started, it wasn't like balanced. So like I'll always cross my legs one way. And so I didn't know, but when I was doing like hip opening poses and stuff like that, one side was always a little bit more tight than the other. And I totally had a similar experience like you. One time I was doing some kind of deep hip pose and then I was like, oh, I have like tears coming, but it's not from pain. This is strange. It was a totally a release thing as well. And yeah, for my clients, a lot of people, like, you're at your desk all day, like crunching over. So doing like shoulder opening stuff often gets them that sort of release. Not always tears, but when they're like, oh my God, I have like all this, I feel like more at ease now. And I had all these like Rice Krispie sort of cracks and they're doing it.
But I mean, you think even when you sometimes you take a big stretch and you're like, oh, that feels so good. Like, why don't I do that more often? Like, it's like you forget to add it into your daily routine.
Yeah. And like, I know, like you can just get stuck doing something for hours and you're like crunched over. So I usually find when I like do a back bend after a long time like that, like, oh my God, like I shouldn't have done this hours ago.
That's so amazing. So what do you think your clients love most about what you do?
I think that, like I said, initially they love my crazy poses that I can do,
Yeah.
but I think through sticking with me, I try to be a little bit more light and airy in my teaching, because I know a lot of people who come to me aren't looking for that deeper connection at first. So I don't want to like overload them. So I try to keep things light and airy, and I think they really appreciate that and like that. And I only go as deep into the practice as they want me to, because I'm not trying to force anything on people.
Yeah. No, and I think that's important. And I feel like, I don't know if you would agree, but like yoga can be vulnerable, right? Like a lot of people are coming not being able to be super flexible and trying to be like, oh, okay, I can do this. And you don't know what's going to happen with your body. You don't know what's going to pop on out, right? Like there's lots of different things that could happen. So I could definitely see how clients would appreciate someone too a little bit more gentle. No one, I mean, even when you're correcting people, right? Like I could see it be nice in a way that you're just meeting people where they're at. So
and I knew when I started, like a lot of teachers would use like really intense like anatomy words and stuff that I didn't know, and it was felt like intimidating, you know, like I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about right now. So I try to make my cues a little bit fun, and I always switch it up because I feel like every person takes in stuff differently. So yeah, there's like certain little things that help you get into poses better, but it's not always easy to connect your body when you first start. So saying certain things just doesn't connect with some people.
Well, and then there's always like the disconnect that you're like, oh, I'm doing what you're doing, but I'm actually not, right? Like, so it's always that funny thing, like in your head, you're like, yeah, I've told my body to like move my arm that way, but it isn't it doing it right now? Like you just don't even know anymore, right? So
yeah, totally.
So, I mean, you mentioned a little bit this like pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. Obviously, I think it's such an important part of our conversations because to me, like that's the good thing that came out of COVID is the creativity of people and their businesses and how they've changed. So how do you think your business has changed, especially since you started?
Oh, wow. It's like evolved so much. When I first started, I started my little business because I know that I felt a little bit intimidated when I started practicing. And I know a lot of people don't want to even start because they don't want to go to a big group class. They might feel a little bit scared or even embarrassed if they don't know what's going on. And sometimes you have this perception that you have to be able to touch your toes, or you have to wear certain clothes or look a certain way or be a certain age. So I wanted to go to people's like where they feel comfortable so that they automatically feel comfortable when they're starting their practice. So I was going to a lot of clients' houses, and then I grew a little following, and then I grew that into doing in the summers outdoor small group classes. And that was really nice. It was right by a lake and people loved that. And then of course the pandemic hit. So I stopped doing all in-person stuff because we weren't allowed to for so long. And when I pivoted a bit to doing a little tiny bit of online classes, like over video call, like Zoom or other types of video calls. But then I was also pregnant, so I was taking it easy on myself. And then, of course, when I had my daughter, like life was so different. You could never even like imagine what to do with a newborn and how to like get back to your normal. So I was still teaching a little bit of online classes to clients I had for years, and they totally understood if I had the baby like on me. And then now she's like old enough to be a little bit more independent, and like she's just starting to sleep better at night. So So I've decided to start growing my online presence, and I am teaching a little bit of in person, but I'm really focusing my energies on online stuff. So I have like a library of on-demand stuff, and then I
Yes.
do teach like live classes over video calls as well.
Amazing. And I bet that's good for clients too, right? Because you're taking away that like extra step, extra spot where you might feel a little nervous or uncertain, where you're like, okay, if all I have to do is press start and she's there on Zoom and I'm by myself, and I could even turn off my video if I had to, right? Like, I feel like there's so many pieces to that puzzle. And it's funny because I know people are like, oh, I'm done with all online, but I definitely still think there's a lot there that's like, wait a second, let's don't throw this away yet. I think there's some good stuff here, and there's good things that you can take out of it.
Totally. Like, I know a lot of people really do prefer in person, and they do love that connection of a group class. But I know, like, I have a bunch of clients who are moms as well, and like the studio schedules just don't work for them, and they have to do their practice when their baby's asleep or something like that. So having somebody like me who can work around their schedule is so helpful for them.
Yeah. And I think, and this is saying, like, I feel like people are like kiboshing the online world right now because we said we're tired of it. But I really think there's our pieces of it like that I'm like, it makes it so much more accessible for so many more people. And then when you do have time to do the in-person, you can do that too, right? Like you don't have to pick and choose. It can be just like a little bit of everything. And
yeah, it's so nice to have options, right?
But I think that transitions into this really well. Talking about busy mamas, whether you're a new busy mama or you're, a busy mom entrepreneur dealing with a million things. How can we possibly get more movement and I guess stretching, because I'm terrible at not stretching, into our lives?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great question, because like, I think before having children, you always have this like expectation that, oh, I'm going to go to a class and have like an hour to do it. And then like a half an hour afterwards to like, just decompress and like shower and do everything. But like a lot of moms do not have that kind of time, right? No. So I think the most important thing is managing expectations for your practice. Like, you might not be able to do an hour, but just because you can't do an hour doesn't mean you shouldn't do anything, and you might have to sprinkle it in here and there. When my daughter was a newborn and she wasn't very mobile, I would put her on her little play mat, and then I'd roll out my mat beside her. So she'd have her tummy time and I would be doing my yoga. So we would kind of be exercising together. And then of course she got more mobile. So that was like not possible anymore, because if I didn't have my eye on her for a second, she would have crawled away. So I transitioned to practicing while she was napping. So I know a lot of people are like, well, I can't do everything while my child is napping. Sometimes I want to nap during that time too. So I would just like, at that time, she would have like a 2-hour nap in the afternoon, and I would just take a portion of that to get my movement in. And now she's like running around, but she's also a little bit more independent, so she can play on her own in a safe way. And I remembered when I was little, my mom and I used to do like those aerobic type of exercises together.
Jane Fonda, what?
Yeah, I always dreamed of doing that with my children. So I try to just like do a little practice while she's independently playing, if she's not like really clingy to me that day, and trying to like plant those seeds in her, like doing this pose, maybe she'll want to join me sometime soon. So that's how I approach it. And I know some of my friends who have children who are maybe a little bit older, they often do it while their kid is asleep, which some of them, they didn't, some of my friends did not like exercising at night. Like that was their TV time or whatever.
Yeah. I just know my body is not. If I don't do it in the morning, I'm like, sorry, my energy is gone. I'm sure if like I started doing it, it would eventually do it, but I agree. It's a good excuse.
So sometimes at night when they're sleeping, or I have another friend who just decided to wake up earlier than she used to and do it in the morning. And again, like a lot of people have this perception that yoga has to be in this like serene and quiet and peaceful location. And like when you're a member of a family with small children, you might not have peace. So if you can just get in some movement, maybe when your like air fryer is going and you're waiting for it to beep, like maybe doing a few stretches or sun salutations there. And if you work from home, like I said, you can get really stuck like for an hour with your shoulders forward. So if you can maybe think like every hour or something, just like, oh, I'm just going to interlace my fingers behind my back to open my chest, and or like me, don't always cross one way with your legs, switch it up to do the weird way so that you have some balance.
Yes. I love that. What would be, and I'm kind of throwing you on the spot, but what would be like one or two stretches that you're like, okay, you've got 5 minutes. Here's a few that I think you need to do right now to like reset or just like feel good.
Yeah. So definitely shoulder stuff for people who are working all day. So
as you even speak about it, I can feel, oh, my watch is commenting on you, but I can feel my shoulders going, oh, sorry, right? Like as you even say the words, I can feel it. But
so a really easy one to bring the shoulders back is just interlacing your fingers behind your back and like trying to pull your arms away from your body. And you could do that for a few breaths. I think the main things to hit would be your shoulders, your hips, and your hamstrings. So if you just like get up off of your chair and do a nice little forward fold, trying to keep your back like more straight than bending over through like your spine, trying to like hinge from the hips is a better alignment. And any hip stretch. So a really easy one at your chair is if you just put your ankle over your knee, like over your other knee, and try to lengthen your bent knee away from you. So the hip that is stretching.
Yes.
Kind of like that figure 4 sort of shape. If it's hard to imagine.
I can see that one. Yeah, that's a good one. I find hips are a big one for me. And I don't know if it's like as I get older or like women things are changing, but hips seem to be like, something I'm like, ooh, I've gotta stretch that a little bit more. Like it's just definitely very interesting how you start hitting certain ages and things start feeling very different. So
yeah, it's really common, right? Because we're so used to sitting. So it happens.
Yeah. What are other really good tips for like, because I'm thinking in my head, like, how can I put this into practice right away? Like for me, I am, and it sounds funny, but like things don't get done if my watch or my phone doesn't remind me. So I'm like, maybe I should throw that into the reminders for the day, right? If at like 20 or whatever it is like, get up and stretch. I'm like, oh, that'd be a good time to do it now. Or I guess it's more just like getting it into your routine and you get used to it, right?
Totally. If you have a certain time in the day, like I was saying, some of my friends do it when their kids are asleep or in the morning or in the evening. But if you're working all day at a desk, even if you wanted to like set a little timer, like once an hour or something to stretch one of those spots like shoulders, hips, or hamstrings, that might be good because like you said, a lot of people just have to be on their schedule because they're so busy, right? But yeah, the more you do it, the more it will be in your routine and you won't even have to think about it. But yeah, setting the timer at the beginning is a really good way to get that ball rolling.
I love that so much. What do you think is one thing that you're very proud about in your business?
I personally am really proud about the inclusivity that I try to foster. So, like I was saying before, a lot of times yoga studios are really intimidating, or even gyms. Like, I know when I first started teaching at a gym, there's that like weightlifting area, and I'm like, oh, I'm never going over there. I don't want to be like a disruption because I can't lift those kinds of weights. But yeah, so I want people to feel comfortable, and like yoga is really just a tool to connect to your body. So I try to foster that idea that it's for everybody. You don't have to have like the fancy clothes or look a certain way or be able to bend a certain way. But yeah, and so it can be really expensive too. So I try to have different offerings for people who have different levels of disposable income.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. I like that too. And I saw you had different collections, right? Of like something's more stretching. How does that work?
Yeah, so I have like one offering I have is for people who want to get really deeper into their flexibility, and they might not be thinking so much about the mental side and the emotional side of yoga. They just want to hit those poses. So I think that's totally valid, and I have that offerings for those type of people. Then I have like my on-demand platform that I had mentioned before. So there's different things in there. There's like there's a daily challenge that's short. So people who only have like 10 minutes, they can still get their movement in. And then there's stuff for gentle yoga and lunchtime yoga. That's another one I have. So it's a shorter class, like 30-ish minutes. So you can still eat after.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And then like we were mentioning the party trick stuff before, I have a little section for that for people who want to do those fun advanced poses. And then I also have like some meditation and breathing as well, and some like PDF like sort of little ebook sort of things that have little exercises.
Oh, I love that. You got like a little bit of everything going on. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Good for you. That's so good. What do you think is your like one of your favorite parts about being an entrepreneur?
I absolutely love being accountable to myself. I know when I worked in an office job years and years ago, I was good at what I did, but I didn't enjoy it. You know, it wasn't my purpose. So I love working towards my purpose and my dreams, and using my time to build my dreams instead of using my time to help somebody else build their dreams.
And as like a busy mom at home, how do you feel that change as well?
I have to be like, we were talking about schedules. I have to be so like on point with my schedule. I have to work around when my husband can watch my daughter and when we're doing our activities and stuff like that. All the work stuff happens after 8:30 when I know she's already in bed and probably won't wake up.
Right? Yes. Hopefully. Yes. Yes. Oh, I remember those days quite well. Yeah. Right. Funny thing. But it's one of my favorite things too about being an entrepreneur is that like, and it was even just a few weeks ago, I was kind of not looking for new projects. There was new projects coming towards me. And my first answer was, no, I can't do that. That doesn't fit within my schedule. And then it took me this moment of like, wait a second, I'm in charge of my schedule. Like if I want to flip it on its head and do something totally different, I can, right? So is this like, I feel there still are days that you're like, oh yeah, I got control of that. Like it was just such a weird moment. But then obviously I've got to pick and choose which projects I do. But I do think like that freedom of being like, wait a second, maybe I can do this or do it for, 2 weeks or a month or whatever it is. Like, yeah, I have control on that, which is so cool.
Yeah.
Are you like, I know your daughter is not too old yet, but can you imagine her like seeing you as an entrepreneur and your business and what you do and like sharing all that information with her?
Yes, I would love that. She's she's a little sponge for everything I do. So I like to say she's my why. So, I want to build a nice little thing so that I can have a lot of time with her, but also so that she can see that you can chase your dreams and you don't have to go to some job you don't want to do. I mean, it's perfectly valid if you don't really care about what sort of job you have, and you just work to have a fun life. But if you have a dream, it's totally great to build it, even though there are some things that are tough to do. and there's a lot of time that goes into it, but it's building something that is something you can be proud of.
Love that. With your classes, do you find that you are building a community of people as well that like are really, reaching out to each other and supporting each other?
Yes. Like pre-pandemic, I had like I was mentioning, the outdoor class. I had this really lovely group of women who just loved to come and practice by the lake, and they would like cheer each other on when they were trying to work towards deeper poses. So it changed a little bit with the more online stuff because there's not as much connection between the students, but there are some classes I teach that are kind of like a group, like there's multiple people in the call and they like to cheer each other on, which is always so nice to see.
I love that so much. And would you consider doing some sort of like mummy baby yoga? Or I just remember my middle son was a pretty big baby and we started doing strength classes, and I waited that little bit too long because he was a good 3 times heavier than anyone else's baby. So we're like trying to lift him and I was like, what? I can't do this. I'm like,
yeah, that like it's so fun. I mean, you might not get as much movement in, but it's so fun to connect with your babies, right?
So good. So good. Yeah, I did for years too. I did the mommy baby dance classes. I taught all the time. And once again, when my kids were like probably too big, I remember my one was like pretty much doing the class for the moms. Like he could teach it and he'd be clapping along and he's like, I have him on my carrier. I'm like, oh my God, he's ridiculous. He's still my big performer now. And he's almost 14. So
oh my gosh, that's adorable.
yeah. This is a funny question, but who is inspiring you right now? Because I feel like mine always changes. So who's inspiring you right now?
As a mom, my mom and sister really inspire me. My sister, she wasn't able to have an epidural for any of her 3 children. So I think she's just like an absolute warrior to be able to have all 3 like unmedicated after having a baby. I'm like, wow, she's wow. And I am sure pretty much any mom can relate to those unsolicited advice that nobody wants. And I've noticed that neither my mom nor my sister ever gave the unsolicited advice. And I'm like, yes, that's amazing. I'm going to keep that in my mind for the future and not try to offer unsolicited advice. It's just because something would work for me, it doesn't mean it works for other people. Yeah. And it can be annoying, when you're just trying to figure out your life and then somebody's like, do this thing this way. You're like, oh, really?
Yeah. Years ago, I ran like a mommy baby class, and every day we would start off with like a topic of conversation of how's this going or that going. And one of my favorites was always, what advice or what has somebody said to you recently? And you'd go around the room and your jaw would just drop of like, oh, someone said this to me. Someone said this. And you're like, no, right? Like the things that people just say blew my mind. And like strangers, family, friends, everybody, like there's no limits. People just say whatever they want. But yes, I agree. Unsolicited advice is not necessary for anybody, but yes, let alone a new parent for sure.
Yeah, you're like going through that survival mode. You don't need like judgment or something that's going to annoy you, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then business wise, like you were saying, my daughter being able to see what I'm doing. My dad was also an entrepreneur, and I always thought that was awesome because I thought he lived a life the way he wanted to and built the business he wanted to build. And I was like, that looks like something I want to do. So that.
And which is awesome, because what I realized recently, like, it's not for everybody, right? Like, I love it. It is definitely who I am and what I do for sure. But there's a lot of people, like, it's not for everybody. Like you said, it's hard. You got to be self-motivated. You got to be ready to adapt for the crazy pandemics or whatever else is coming at you. Like, it is not for everybody, but for the people who love it, like, it's for you.
Yeah, for sure. You can't just sit back and hope that the money's going to roll in, right?
No. And you're always like thinking, what's next? What's the next step? What else? How can I change and adjust or do this or that? Or yeah, but it's fun that way.
Totally. You know, like any job, there's parts that you might not be the best at or you might not love, but like I said before, it's, you know, building something you can be proud of. So that's the fun part.
And what is your must-read book right now?
So my husband is an indie author, so I'm loving his little series that he's creating right now. He has like a little novella which is called In the Storm. It's nice and short, so it's really good if you're busy and but still want to get some reading in. And he has his longer book that is called Inglorious Resurrection, and it's if you like fiction, sci-fi, fantasy sort of stuff. It's really fun. It has like really great interpersonal relationships as well as lots of action. So it's fun.
Okay. Well, we will definitely share those links because that's so cool. I just like imagine your household being so like calm and serene, except with this 21-month-old. I don't know how that fits into the mix, but I'm envisioning him like writing his book, you doing some yoga, and this like little baby running around like mad crazy.
Yeah. You know, there's like we got to get this stuff done here and there, but it's nothing like coming home from work like, oh, my boss was so mean to me today or anything like that.
I love that. So good. If you could share anything we've chatted a little bit about like entrepreneurship and being a parent and sort of that whole juggling act. If you could share anything with somebody who like could be potentially on the fence of starting a business or thinking, oh, I couldn't actually do that myself. What would you share with them?
I think the most important thing I would share is that you don't have to do everything on your own. So you know your strengths and your weaknesses. And for example, if marketing is your weakness, you don't have to figure out like, oh, I'm just going to throw up some ads here and there and hope that helps. Like there's resources out there depending again on your what you want to spend. But yeah, investing in yourself is really important.
It's a hard one. That's a hard one to learn, especially people who are like semi decent at a little bit of everything, which I feel like I am. It took me a long time to be like, okay, you know what? I need to pay somebody. I need to invest in myself. If I want things to grow, if I want them to get bigger, I need to I need to put my money where my mouth is. It definitely is something that takes a little while, but is so good.
Yeah. And like, I think that's a good lesson for anybody. Like asking for help is an important thing. It's not a weakness.
Yeah. Did you feel, and I'm just throwing this one at you too, because I feel like in my head, yoga is something you're like, oh, I've seen yoga everywhere. Like, did you ever feel like, I don't know if I can do that because everyone's doing it? Or did you feel like, nope, I want to do this differently? Like, how did you first decide, yes, I'm going to do this?
Well, I, like I said before, I'm super flexible. So when I first started practicing, I loved that I could do some deeper stuff, but over time, like over a short amount of time, I started noticing that I couldn't do some of the stronger stuff, and my joints were feeling kind of weird. And I realized through that connection to my body that I was fostering through my practice that I wasn't strong enough to support my joints. So I had to go outside of yoga and do a bunch of strength stuff. I tried a bunch of different things until I got stronger. And then I noticed as I got stronger, my flexibility increased in a safe way and my joints weren't feeling weird. So I feel that I teach in a little bit of a different way because of that knowledge that I have. And a lot of teachers I had didn't know how to deal with me in yoga, like my flexibility.
Yeah.
So I do feel that I have a little bit of something different to offer than the average teacher. So I really wanted to put that out there I know that not everybody comes from the super flexible range of the spectrum, but I wanted to put that stuff out there to help those people, but also help people who are less flexible become more flexible in a safe way.
Yes, in a safe way, which is, I think, so important to highlight. And I love that you mentioned it a few times because, yeah, we could all try some crazy moves in your yoga class, but might not be a smart idea for everybody.
Yeah, like the one thing that really comes to mind is when people are like, oh, let's see if I could do the splits. And they just put on socks on like a slippery floor and try to slip into it. And I'm like, no, don't do that.
No. My splits days, I feel, are a little bit over. I feel like I'm not gonna try that one anytime soon.
And if it is a goal, you definitely don't want to get injured because then it's going to make the goal even further away.
Yes, for sure. Amazing. Well, this was such a good conversation. I don't even want to end. I love chatting with you. It was so wonderful. Where can my audience find you? What's the best way for them to get in contact with you? Your website, your socials, how do they find you?
My website is stretchloveyoga.com, and my Instagram is my handles at stretchloveyogi, so YOGI instead of yoga. And I have like a little free download that people could get if they want some tips on flexibility, which is stretchloveyogaprogram.com/flexibility secrets.
Oh, nice. I like that one. I might have to check that one out. And I know you gave us a few quick stretches. Is there any other one last stretch so you're like, okay, everyone should try and fit this in?
So this one is called, it's a shoulder stretch as well, and it can feel like not so great, but it's really great for the mobility. My friends and I call it the chicken wing. So if you just put your fist on your hip and you turn your elbow in towards your chest and you kind of gently pull the elbow in further, like of course listening to your body and not doing anything that feels pinchy, that will definitely help with some range of motion as well.
Yeah, I like that one. I'm like, I can feel that one already. See, that's what I love about this is like I feel like I'm like prep person that's like, oh no, I don't do yoga. I can't do yoga. Don't do yoga. But then I do one or two moves and you're like, oh yeah, that feels so good. So
yeah.
I love hearing your advice, love hearing about your stretches. And I think it's so important to chat more about and like how we can fit little pieces within our day. And even when we say we can't and I think there's ways that people can totally find the time, or like you said before, sprinkle in the moments throughout the day, but like a little bit here, a little bit there. And then when you start really loving it, then maybe take that lunchtime class, maybe take a full, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And like, don't feel judged if you are like sitting at your TV and you're like, oh, well, I want to watch this show, but I also want to get some stretches in. Like you can do that. That's totally fine.
Right? Oh yeah. I like you. No rules yoga. That's what I like. This is good. Amazing. Well, Devin, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. I know my audience probably loves all those tips and tricks and learning all about you and what you do. So thank you again for coming.
Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. And to my audience, thank you so much for checking out the show. Let's continue the conversation. Hop on therenaissancemama.com or on Instagram at Courtney Renaissance Mama. And if you haven't heard the news, Fired Up Network is on Mometu. You can download the app for free and start streaming some incredible shows. So thank you so much, friends, and bye for now.
Well, that was Courtney Riddell, the Renaissance Mama, here. Part of Fired Up Network is female empowerment movement. Good show. Thank you to the guest as well. And now we're going to go to the Hall of Famer, John Freeman Nelson of OSG Sports in Atlanta, where we talk about the National Lacrosse League. They're in the conference final now. Yes, conference final, which begins 9:30. Calgary and Colorado. Here's the Hall of Famer, John Freeman Nelson. Hey everybody, this is Joseph Pasek, and welcome to the Fired Up Network. Welcome to the flagship show of the Fired Up Network, Fired Up Live, and welcome back to the Hall of Famer, John Freeman Nelson of OSG Sports in Atlanta, here and outside the box. John, I'm disgusted.
What?
I wanted to go to San Diego, our second office here. You know, by the way, San Diego is beautiful. Spoken by a Canadian. I worked hard on building our offices. Beautiful palm trees there.
You got to shut it down early.
Yeah, I felt like giving somebody a 619. All right, let's get to the. Before we look ahead, let's look back at the National Lacrosse League playoffs. Yes, playoffs. All right, so let's start off with Buffalo pounding Rochester 20-8.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about a statement game. I think that's about as close to a statement as you can make. Shots on goal. Now, this I found really interesting. All right, so how many goals did Buffalo score against Rochester?
20-8.
They had 60 shots on net. So
basically,
1/3 of their shots ended up in the back of the net. You shut out Rochester in the first quarter. So you're up 3-0. Okay, cool. You put 5 on the board, you're up 8-4 at the half. And then literally you outscored Rochester in the second half 12-4. 12-4. Your grid 3-5-6-6 for Rochester 0-4-3-1. You outscored them 12-4 in the second half. You outscored them 3-0 in the first quarter. And so that was absolutely crazy. Josh Byrne had 4 goals. Dane Smith, who is an assist machine, he had 3 goals and 7 assists. So just crazy statement from Buffalo here, putting up that kind of a number. I think that everyone, whether they're going to admit it publicly or not, has found a way to watch that game since last Saturday of the surviving teams to understand what they're going up against with Buffalo getting the pedal down the way that they have.
All right. And before we touch on the Rock, this weekend, start of conference final, it's best 2 out of 3. It's a little bit different this year, best 2 out of 3. But let's get to what do you call them? The Toronto Rock, the Golden Horseshoe
Rock. The Rock of the Golden Horseshoe.
All right, Toronto 15, Halifax 11, packed up First Ontario Center, so packed up that they're moving them next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, okay, so we're going to play someplace else. They're the NYCFC of the National Lacrosse League. Toronto shut down Halifax. We both had Toronto in this one. I didn't anticipate this many goals being scored. Toronto, once again, and we talk about big second halves, Toronto had a big second half. They outscored Halifax by the score of 10-6 in that second half, but they also held Halifax to 1 goal in the first quarter and the third quarter. So you look at the defense that's there from Toronto. Zach Mans had 3 goals, 3 assists. He had the balanced night on the day. So Nick Rose, friend of the network. Rosie had 30 saves. Halifax only had 41 shots, and so they got about a quarter of them in, but only 41 shots, and Rosie had a big night with 30 saves.
All right, that was the East. We went 2 for 2 in the East, so pat yourself on the back there. All right, in the West, Colorado, as I mentioned, beat our San Diego team. What a nail biter, 13-12. Go ahead.
Did not anticipate this one happening at all, and when you have Colorado holding San Diego, and as much as we talk about offense, I think that defense is ignored here to our own peril, because once again, as high-powered a team as San Diego has been all season long, Colorado shut them down to 3 first-half goals, 7-3 at the break. Colorado was consistent all the way through. The only thing that wasn't consistent, they had one more goal scored in the second quarter, 3 goals all the way through. They're very, very measured approach. San Diego had to mount a furious comeback to try to make it close. They outscored Colorado 9-6 in the second half, but Colorado very, very measured all the way through. Eli McLaughlin had 4 goals. Ryan Lee had 4 goals, 5 assists on the night. They advance. Kevin Crowley, the leading goal scorer for San Diego, only had 3 on the night. Curtis Dixon had 5 assists. Crowley was 3 and 3 on the night, but you shut down the high-powered offense in San Diego. Colorado gets the tip of the hat for me for advancing to the Final Four.
Yeah, Colorado, really surprising there. That's the only one we got wrong last week, because Calgary beat Panther City 12-9. The dream is still alive. I don't think I'm going to get in the Stanley Cup, but maybe in the National Lacrosse League Cup final, Toronto, Calgary. I wanted Toronto, Edmonton in the National Hockey League. Maybe, just maybe, right, John?
I think it's going to be Buffalo and whoever survives out of. I think it's Buffalo and Calgary myself. But you know that everybody in Buffalo is going to be absolutely fired up for whoever can survive out of the West. Calgary, they chose the right time to have a bagel on the scoreboard. Traditionally, I like a bagel with cream cheese. I like maybe the
blocks.
Yeah, for those of you who are a little more adventurous, I'm just a cream cheese kind of guy. Calgary got their 0 on the scoreboard in the third quarter. And they had, Panther City led after 1. They were down 8-7 after 2. Panther City's defense holds Calgary to a donut, a bagel, a 0 in the third quarter. Unfortunately for Panther City, Calgary did the same thing to them in the fourth quarter. That is not the time, last time I checked, to post a 0 on the board. But fantastic season by Panther City, making it into the playoffs and getting done what they've done. This game is going to be a lesson for them going forward. Great work by Panther City, losing 12-9, but a 0 on the board in the fourth quarter. That's a stunner for me. Tyler pacing, pardon the pun. Calgary with 4 and 4 on the night. Will Malcolm had 3 assists and a goal to pace Panther City. And once again, we talk about, goalies in this league. Christian Del Bianco had 37 saves, kept a clean sheet in the fourth quarter. That was big for Calgary to advance. All right, and now heading to this week's game again. 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3, a little bit of change this year. 2 out of 3 in the conference final, and it begins tonight, 9:30. Calgary, Colorado. Go ahead. I've got to go. I mean, as much as we enjoy momentum here and we talk about it, I've got to go with Calgary in this one. It's at Ball Arena, but I think that it's going to be a little tighter than we would initially expect. I think it's probably going to be in that 13-11 range, but I think that Calgary gets it done. You know what? I'm the president of the provinces of Canada, the mayor-elect of North America, soon to run for the mayor of Toronto. I hate doing this. I really hate doing this. But I think because it's in Colorado, because it's a fast turnaround, that's a Thursday game, I think Colorado gets this in the next 2 games, because 2 out of 3 are in Calgary. Yeah. But kudos to the National Lacrosse League. They compact the games, because usually you play, Saturday, Sunday. But compact the games. It's going to be a test, because this is
lacrosse, if you don't know lacrosse, for the new viewers and listeners, it's a physical game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a physical game with not a lot of pads, and they drill you with the stick and they cross check you and all that. Playing back to back, 2-3 days off. It's hard. Nobody talks about that, but it's hard. But I'm going with Colorado to surprise Calgary in game one. Now, tomorrow, 7:30, Toronto, Buffalo. This is what the National Lacrosse League is. If you ever want to watch a National Lacrosse League game, especially in Buffalo, where it's traditional, Buffalo is one of the standard bearers of the National Lacrosse League. Watch this game. You talk about physicality. You talk about scoring. You talk about goaltending. You talk about defense. I expect fights. I expect cross checks.
Yeah.
I expect a little bloody nose. I expect a tight game. And John, you give the result because I'll give a result then.
Well, I think that this weekend, I think you're going to get a split. I think you're going to get, because of that physicality, I think it's going to come down to game 3 next weekend.
Yes.
But I think that the one at KeyBank goes to the home team. The Rock of the Golden Horseshoe get theirs at First Ontario Center. So I think that this is these two games. If you and this is our promo for the National Lacrosse League. If you have nothing to do, Friday night at 7:30, Saturday night at 7:00, watch these two games. If you are a lacrosse fan, if you're a fan of the National Lacrosse League, regardless of team, I literally would sit there and I would order food, camp out both nights, watch these two games because there's going to be a third one next weekend. It is going to be some of the nastiest stuff that you will see. I mean, you have the Rock of the Golden Horseshoe and the Buffalo Bandits. They've been in the league forever. That's the official term. They've been in the league forever. And when you have this kind of rivalry attached to a game and to a series like this, I think that Buffalo eventually wins it in 3, but I think that you get a split this weekend with each team getting the Duke at their home arena.
I 100% agree. The first game in Buffalo, I think it's going to be a closer game, maybe 13-10 Buffalo.
Yeah.
Saturday in Hamilton or Golden Horseshoe, like you say, I think it's going to be opposite. I think the Rock are going to win 14-12, something like that, and then it's going to come down to next week. But we do have a Saturday game, game 2, Colorado, Calgary. You picked Calgary in the first game. Do you pick Calgary at home now on Saturday?
I've got to go with Calgary getting both of them. I think it's gonna end up being 2, and it's gonna be a sweep on the western side. They're gonna watch what's going on the eastern side. I think that it gets done. I think it gets done with both of them. I think they get 2.
I think it's Colorado wins the first game tonight, and then Calgary wins the second game. I think both Eastern and Western Conference Finals are going 3 games. By the way, the third game, game 3, Buffalo will be hosting next Saturday, May 20th at 7:30, and then Calgary will be hosting at 9:30 Saturday, May 20th. We'll be back here on the Fired Up Network to discuss what happened in game 1 and game 2 and possibly preview game 3. But you're right, at least one of those series are going to go 3 games. And like John said, I urge you, if you're not a National Lacrosse League fan, I know here in Toronto, it's sort of the Toronto Rock, but Friday we have a little bit of another bigger game, okay, with the floor. By the way, I'll tell you, you don't need to watch the Maple Leafs. I'll tell you, the Maple Leafs are going to force it to game 6, all right? Maple Leafs are going to force it to game 6. But John, tell everybody how they could get a hold of you, and I know you're disappointed because you're not going to go to San Diego studios and everything like that. You love San Diego Superchargers.
Absolutely. Easiest way to get in touch is on the Twitters at OSG Nelson. And don't forget to download the OSG Sports app, available iOS and Android. TheOnlineSportsGuys.com gives you all the content that you're staring at when it is outside the soccer world. And just as a reminder, right there, book number 6, Noble Strong Lessons in Destiny. You do a John Nelson search on Amazon, pick that up. And who knows? You reach out to me, maybe I'll send you an autograph copy if you mail it to me. We could take care of postage either way. So, Noble Strong Lessons in Destiny, Book 6. Really cool story about a family that is very close to me that was going through one of the biggest challenges of their life, and how the town that they were in wrapped themselves around that family and helped them through it as best they could. So, Noble Strong Lessons in Destiny on Amazon, book number 6.
And what about the extra point? What about book number 7? Have you thought about it yet?
Oh, yeah.
And what a title for that. The Extra Point. There you go.
Book number 7. No, well, it's not. You can't quite be the extra point, but it's tied to a documentary that we did, and I'm trying to figure out how many pages we can get with the interviews and the wording and everything. So it is in its raw form, and I probably need to have some kind of Ernest Hemingway-ish kind of time away from humanity to try to figure things out. But it is in its raw form right now, trying to figure out how to manage book 7.
And by the way, hopefully John Nelson, the Hall of Famer, will join us tomorrow afternoon for the world famous soccer show where him and Carmen Asako and the youngster, or like somebody says on the network, the young whippersnapper, Giancarlo Lino, will talk about the facts of life. Thanks a lot, John.
Anytime, my friend.
Well, that's John Freeman Nelson here on OSG Sports in Atlanta. And John, a big part, a Hall of Famer of Fired Up Network. John, a big part of soccer for OSG Sports. Also could talk about every sport under the sun. And you could see he has written several books. So there you go. All right, so we're going to be joined by the grizzled young veteran, Marty Roberts, in just a couple seconds here for the sports wrap-up. But I'm going to give you some scores here in professional sports, because that's what we do. We're a sports entertainment network. So in the National Hockey League, we begin. New Jersey and Carolina tied up at 9:22 left to go in the third period. In the NBA, third quarter, 5 minutes left. Celtics, 62. 76ers, 62. 10 o'clock, Denver and Phoenix. Major League Baseball. We got some finals for you. The Reds shut out the Mets 5-0. The Twins beat the Padres 5-3. The Royals defeat the White Sox 4-3. And Tampa all over the New York Yankees, bottom of the eighth, 8-0. 9:40, Texas, Oakland. And San Fran will take on Arizona also at 9:40. And for those who are wondering, I know Marty Roberts wants to know in the Europa League soccer here, Juventus and Sevilla played to a 1-1 draw, and Roma beat Bayern Leverkusen, try to say that 12 times, Marty, 1-0. So that's the scores in Europa League action. And Marty Roberts, once he joins us, the National Football League schedule is unveiled. His Washington, whatever they're called, have looked and penciled in for a glorious 4-13 record. Glorious 4-13 record, but we'll touch with Marty, and he's coming in right now here. Hopefully he's not sleeping. I don't know if he has shaved or anything like that, but Marty Roberts, Sports Wrap. Are you sleeping? I guess so.
Well, are you done talking about soccer? You put me to sleep there.
No, well, 12:15 tomorrow. Give up the promo. 12:15 tomorrow. I've gotten confirmation from John Nelson and Carmen Asako, the whippersnapper, like somebody else says. Giancarlo Lino has not confirmed. Maybe he's writing articles for Sportskeeda. That's what he does.
He's too busy watching himself instead of watching anyone else. He only watches himself. So right now he's watching himself on all platforms that he's on. Then he'll get back to you if he's going to be on tomorrow.
All right, so speak about this tomorrow, 12:15, the soccer show, world famous soccer show, around 6:30. Haven't decided when I'm going to play it, but we're going to have the Maple Leafs Forever pregame with Digit Murphy, and she talks about Marty Roberts. She talks about the Maple Leafs need players like Marty Roberts, a grizzled young veteran, not old veterans like they had. But and then we're going to do a Maple Leafs Forever post game, probably around 10 o'clock with yourself, Taylor Woods, myself, a cast of many people. Maybe we'll invite somebody else on. Who knows? But just want to say, Marty, we were Junkyard Dog, Jerome Williams, Jamie Roberts, a big fan of his, came on, and and I'm going to say this because I haven't talked to Marty today, you're going to see more of the Junkyard Dog, Jerome Williams, on the Fired Up Network. We may be collaborating on some stuff going forward, so big part of the Fired Up Network. But let's get to, which sport do you want to talk on first, Marty?
You can pick whatever one you want, Joseph. You
All right,
go
let's
ahead.
go to soccer then.
Oh,
All right, let's first start. There's only like 4 baseball games. Yankees are getting drilled by the Rays. Wish I had Steve Carney here. He would be like, "Oh, I told you about the Rays." Let's talk about the Lightning, Steve. Come on, but go ahead. Let's talk about Major League Baseball and the Rays hammering the Yankees thus far, 8-0.
yeah, 8-0. Like who would have thought that? First of all, the Tampa would be just murdering everyone in this early season of the MLB, and that Yankees. I think they're last time I looked, I think they're 3 games over 500.
Yeah,
and in last place in the AL East, right? So who would have thought those two? One would be at the top, one would be at the bottom. But 8-0 tonight. I believe it's in Yankee Stadium, is it not?
yes.
Like in Yankee Stadium, and Tampa Bay is just laying a Rumac shellac to the Yankees. The Rumac shellac.
Oh, by the way, are you going to give him a special belated birthday shout out?
I messaged him. I called him a T-Rex, and I told him happy birthday, you T-Rex, and 68 years old, Mr. Norm Rumac.
68 or 86, you never know. All right, Norm Rumac, and also that Wednesday was Junkyard Dog Jerome Williams' birthday, so special shout out to the Junkyard Dog. Now, Blue Jays have a day off before opening up a series here at the Rogers Center against the Atlanta Braves. Atlanta, for their first place in the East there, and you never know. Blue Jays pitching has been up, down, but before we get to that, let's talk about extra innings. Let's talk about your friend, Bo Bichette. Go ahead.
I didn't see it when it happened. I just got a message saying, "Did you see how the Jays lost in extra innings?" I said, "No." Why? He said a throwing error. I'm like, "Oh, no." So then I see the highlights of it. It was a routine throw. It was routine, and he sails it so far by Vlad at first. It was like he was just learning how to throw. Here's something for Bo. Bo's a great hitter. There's no question about it. How about every time you throw the ball, you throw from the same arm slot? Instead of trying to be from down here one time, here this time, here this time, how about we just throw at the exact same spot every single time and figure out how we do that first before you try to get fancy? That was a routine throw that Pee-wee players make on a regular basis. And this guy's getting paid $10 million to sail a ball like that, and it cost them the game. Now, Romano cost them the game by not getting the save, but when they went to extra innings, Meza did his job. Would have been out of the inning. Would have been coming up in a 1-1 game in the 11th inning. No, Bo sails it, and I'm really at a loss for words with this guy on how he throws the ball. He's getting better at fielding the ball, but throwing has always been an issue. If you remember years ago,
yep,
Gurriel struggled with throwing the ball from second base, and what did they do with him? Move him to the outfield. That might be what's going to happen here to Bichette. Bichette might have to get moved to the outfield because it is just terrible how he throws the baseball.
It's unbelievable, and let's they play Philadelphia. Okay, they swept Pittsburgh and then got swept by the Red Sox. But Jordan, we talked last time you were on. We talked about Alek Manoah. Maybe he's injured. Maybe he has some stuff. Okay, let's forget about Alek Manoah already. Is it time to worry about Jordan Romano?
Romano has, I think it's 2 or 3 saves he's blown this year. His saves are never easy. They're never easy. He always gets a couple guys on. Everyone raves about this slider of his, and I truthfully, it's a nice slider, but it's not lights out slider. They're going to have to think about what's going to happen here with that closer position, because if the closer can't do it, that just messes everything up. If the guy who's supposed to close out games can't do it, you know, do you try Pearson? I don't know if Pearson has the mentality to do that. Same as I don't think Romano maybe doesn't have the attitude for. Yes, he looks like he doesn't get fazed by it, but we've seen these situations come in when he's come into these games and he doesn't do these 3 up, 3 downs. He doesn't, up and
He
down, and
always
we're out of it.
struggles. It's hard because remember when the Blue Jays were at the height of their winning World Series in 92, 93 was Ward and Hanky. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And yes, and I say this to you how many times, Marty? At least 10 times. Great reliever, Mariano Rivera, 32 out of 40. He blows 7 to 8 games.
Yeah, you're gonna blow them. You are.
Yeah.
There's no. It's a tough job to do, but when you're on, you should be going 3 up, 3 down.
Yep.
It shouldn't be every time you come into the game, you're getting the first guy on, maybe the second guy, then you lock it down. That's not what you're supposed to be doing. And that just puts more pitches that Romano has to throw, which then shuts him down for maybe the next day because he didn't get out of this in a 3 up, 3 down situation. I don't know. They're gonna have to look like Romano's still a nice piece out there. Is he that guy for that 9th inning? He is right now by default. Swanson's been throwing the ball well. Garcia's throwing it a bit better now. Pearson struggled his last time out, but you knew that was going to eventually come where he's not going to get guys out. I'm actually surprised at how well Mays has been thrown. Mays has been throwing really good this year, facing righties and lefties, which is nice to see. I think he has like a 1.4 ERA, 1.5 ERA, something like that. So it's really good that Mays is doing that. We'll see when later in the summer comes and Chad Green's healthy, how this bullpen situates itself.
Because when you look at the bullpen, and to be frank, okay, Romano up and down or whatever, but right now, like he said, he's the closer. Okay, no, Swanson is the 8th guy, should be the 8th guy, but they have him at the 6th, they have him at the 7th, they have him at the 5th, they have like all over the place, but he should be the 8th guy. Okay, Meza is the 7th, 8th guy, lefty, but that he's more than a lefty because he's the only lefty we got.
And that's the other issue, right? You only have the one lefty in the pen. Like yesterday, the game was perfectly mapped out. Gausman did his job for 6.
Yeah.
Shut Philadelphia down. I think he struck out 9 guys, didn't allow any runs. Then you brought Garcia in for 7. He did what he was supposed to do. Swanson came and did what he was supposed to. And Romano, that's the way that you want it. That's the way it should be done. 7, 8, 9's taken care of. And Romano just unfortunately didn't have it. I don't know what else to say there, but he just didn't have it. They scored the tying run off of him. And then, like I said, in extra innings, you had Bichette toss the ball away. Everyone was all over Schneider. I was all over Schneider too with what he did the night before with some of his pinch hitting for Varsho, putting Springer in his spot. Then, okay, you might be able to say, okay, Springer's healthy. All right. Then he doesn't start him yesterday. So you know that Springer's not well. So why would you even push it? Just let Varsho hit.
They lost the DH also, Kirk and all that. They lost the DH there.
Yeah, a lot would have happened if someone had gone down, because then Jansen would have had to move into catcher position, lose the DH. A whole lot would have had to happen there. But this weekend series coming against the Braves, the first game they're getting their ace. They're getting Strider. Yeah. The Braves, right? That's the guy who strikes out a lot of guys, doesn't allow a lot of runs. I think he's 4-0 in the season. And Bassett's settled down after that first outing that he had. He's really settled down. He's like a low 4.2 or 4.3 ERA now. So it might be an interesting game. They're finally back at home. We'll see if Springer's healthy. We'll see if Vlad's wrist's a little bit better. We'll see how Bo comes out after blowing that game yesterday with the defensive. So lots of things are going to have to happen. As you notice, Chapman's starting to come back down to earth a little bit, which is expected, right? He's going to be he's probably going to hit 270 because he got off to a good start this year. But some other guys are going to start picking up, one of them being Kirk.
That's who I want to talk on 1 second. I'm fed up with Kirk already. Honestly, and we talked about this last show. They made the trade with Arizona. and nothing against of our show or whatever. Maybe they traded the wrong catcher. In fact, they probably did.
Well,
But
they for sure did. They for sure trade. But like I've spoke with you before and Billy about it, is that I don't think other teams hold Kirk in the same category as what the Jays have Kirk as in what his catching abilities and his hitting abilities are. I think other teams don't put him up there as a all-star catch. Yes, he was all-star last year, but I don't think people see that as what Kirk is, and that's why they had to make a change. They had to get some younger guy in here to play some defense. That's why they had to make that move there and get Varsho out of Arizona. Could they maybe got someone else? Yeah, they probably could have another piece, maybe a prospect, but Kirk's got to pick it up because that's a guy that they're relying on. As you can see, every time a pinch hitter is put in the game when Kirk's not playing, Kirk comes in and pinch hits, and he doesn't do the job. So he always looks to me uninterested.
Yeah, nonchalant.
Yeah, he looks it like he doesn't run out of the box hard anymore. He's being nonchalant on a couple pop-ups to him. He's got to switch that.
And behind the plate, he lost two balls. Easy.
In and out of his glove. Right? Now, that may not be how he is. That's just his demeanor. That's how he does. But to me, it looks like, oh, well, I didn't get on. Who cares? Or I didn't get that. Who cares? Like right now, the weakest part of the Jays starting 9 is the catchers.
Yep.
Both of them. Jansen batting like $1.80.
Don't you feel like I don't want to say baseball, hockey, but just pick one guy and let him ride it out 20 games?
Yeah, you would think like they would say, okay, you're the guy, but there is certain guys like, Manoah likes throwing to Kirk, right? So that's part of the reason
both
why
of
he
them
goes
this
in
year
there.
have laid an egg.
Right. And then, Bassett has been between both of them. Jansen, then Kirk. He was Jansen last time out. Kikuchi's been with Jansen for the most part. That's why they bounce. And it's awfully tough on these catchers to go every single day, especially if it's a day game after a night game. It's a lot of up and down, a lot of throwing the ball back to the pitcher, to the second base, all over the place, right? So it is a lot of wear and tear on a catcher's body. But one of these guys has to step up and start performing. There's no question about it because we've talked. Chapman isn't going to stay where he's at. He's going to come back there. So when he starts coming back down, someone else has to step up that wasn't doing it before. Whether it's, Kirk, Jansen, Springer starts picking up. If Springer can start picking it up. So there's a few guys there that can. And Belt is starting to swing a little bit better. He's still behind on the velo with the fastballs. He's not pulling that still, but maybe he can start picking up a little bit, and we got that spot taken care of in the DH spot.
All right, so again, a big series this weekend, and the weather looks great. 20 degrees, 25 degrees. So
doesn't matter anyways. It could be minus 20, Joseph. They got a dome.
But I'm saying the roof's going to be open. Marty Roberts is going to go down to the Rogers Center. Drew Ebanks, Drew was a little bit peed that he couldn't get accreditation for the WNBA game. And Marty, guess what I did? For the Maple Leaf game, they're at Maple Leaf Square, 20,000 people watching. Well, Drew Ebanks is going to do it for Fired Up Network, Maple Leaf Square, watching the WNBA on the big screen. Then you're going to be there on, up in the 500 level with the new Corona bar there and everything, drinking tequila, margaritas, everything like that. Marty, you haven't been to Rogers Center yet. When are you going to be to the Rogers Center? When are you going to give us the tour of the new $300 million renovations?
Who knows when I'm going to go? I don't know. Only time I can go is on a Saturday, Sunday, and I'm so exhausted after work, and I just want to relax on the weekends and cut my grass and barbecue a few steaks and do that. Then, here, we were talking yesterday. Only throwing 6 games. It turns out he's throwing 8 games so far. Yeah. You know how many of those 8 games he's gone more than 5 innings?
1.
2.
Okay.
All the rest have been 5, or that's nowhere near what he was doing last year. So that's what I mean. There's something that's bothering him, not right with him.
And
Like to
here's
go
the other thing with
teams
that.
only have two more than 5 innings.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. If you know we're Marty's coming back in. If you know that there's a problem right now and he's still pitching and then a problem shows up in June, what the hell, like, what's wrong with this team? If people could see it, he's not pitching to his usual self. There, I don't know if I could say there's something wrong or whatever, but okay. But if suddenly another, oh, now we had an MRI and it shows inflammation, it shows whatever, and then we got to shut him down. Why aren't they doing the MRI right now?
Maybe he is an injured Joe, and this is just what he's going to be this year. Like we don't know, right? Like I brought this up the other day when I said Gosper was going to have a really good game because he said he was disappointed and it was unacceptable in how he threw. When they interviewed Manoah's was basically, well, I threw the ball, they hit it. You know, I can't do anything about that. It was totally not a Gossman where Manoah should just be saying, you know what? I'm figuring this out. Next time out, I'm not allowing this to happen again. I'm gonna dominate. But no, he said, oh, you know, I just pitched the ball. If they hit it, they hit it. It was almost like he doesn't think anything's wrong, or if he does, he doesn't want to admit it because he's been a guy that's cocky. Since he's been up, he's been a guy that's cocky. Yeah. And it's sort of throwing him back a little bit. He doesn't have that cockiness anymore because, well, when you have a 5 ERA, there's nothing to be cocky about. So that's sort of taking him back a bit. And I think that's something that why he's such a good pitcher is that he has that cockiness, that swagger about him. I remember seeing him something about Hendricks coming back from his first appearance since his cancer treatment and his clear of cancer in the minors. And both teams stood up, clapped when he came into the game. And after the game, he says, I appreciate it. He says, but I pitch on anger. Mm-hmm. He says, and when I know that the other guys are good dudes, that makes it awfully tough for me to pitch because I'm not angry now. Exactly. And that's sort of like Manoah. He's got to have that cockiness to do well, and he doesn't have it right now. And hopefully he figures it out.
Just a side note, in case you're wondering, in the National Hockey League, New Jersey, Carolina up 3-1. That game is going to overtime in Game 5. If Carolina scores, series over. So overtime 2-2 right now, 9:30 at Seattle and Dallas. And just a side note, I know somebody is watching it. Very, very close game. 7:30 left to go in the fourth quarter. Boston, who needs to stay alive, leads the 76ers by 2, 79-77. Let's get back to baseball. I just want to touch on the Rays again. And the Rays, it's bottom of the ninth. The Yankees have finally scored 2 runs. The Rays lead with 2 outs. The Rays lead 8-2. Do you think the Yankees could make a comeback like the Maple Leafs are about to do?
No.
Okay.
It's done. Up 8-0. It's done. Tampa Bay has a pretty good bullpen. If it does get a little closer, they just bring out some more guys. No. It's like this AL East, you just never know, right? Like Tampa Bay goes and destroys the Yankees, and they struggled against the Jays, and Baltimore, they were sort of iffy with Baltimore as well. It's all about guys who can pitch. If pitching's on that day, it's pretty tough to win. And if defense is on it, it's pretty tough to win. Like here, let's go over just across the town there to the New York Mets.
Yep.
The Mets are terrible. They lost, I think, today to Cincinnati.
5-0.
4 or 5-0 tonight. With Senga on the mound, who was their big starter acquisition during the offseason, right? So, you know, it's not always about spending the most money that gives you the best team. As we can see with the New York Mets, Cohen spent tons of money, and they're 2 games below 500 right now. That's unacceptable with spending, what, 350, 400 million, whatever the heck you spent.
Yeah.
You don't just spend to spend. You look like you got Verlander, 40-year-old dude. You got Scherzer, another 40-year-old dude, right? You went and got some guys here that you might have went and spent it elsewhere because you're sort of wasting a little bit of money there with the Mets and being 2 games under 500, especially in a division with the Atlanta Braves.
Yep.
it could be tough to catch the Atlanta Braves if they keep doing what they're doing.
And by the way, the Rays beat the Yankees now, 8-2. So the game
8-2.
is official. There you go. There.
You know, was another good sign though with the Jays, Joe. We'll go back to Jays. Was against Philadelphia. They faced two elite pitchers in Nola and Wheeler, and they put up a few runs against Nola, and against Wheeler they put up the one there, but Wheeler was dominant, and they at least were hanging with two elite starters in Major League Baseball. So that was good to see that they could do that, and should have had probably 2 wins in my opinion. I think Schneider messed up the game before.
Yeah.
But that was a positive. Even though they lost those 2 games, there's a positive. They faced 2 tough starters, and they were in both games and possibly could have won both games.
All right, Marty. So let's touch on your Washington football team or the NFL there. I'll start off. The schedule just came out at 8 o'clock. I'll just start out here. Are you ready for some Christmas football, some New Year's Eve football, some Black Friday football, some Thanksgiving football, some Canadian Thanksgiving football? Are you ready for football?
Joe, Christmas football 7 months away. Why are you asking me if I'm ready for Christmas football?
Well, I'm asking.
I heard you with Mr. John Freeman Nelson talking about scores already in NFL. I'm going to think this is going to be a low-scoring game, 13-10, you said. I'm like, what the heck? We're still in May. The season doesn't start to what? October? September?
By the way, Marty, if you want me to talk, it's the XFL Championship weekend this weekend.
You know what?
The XFL.
I'm telling you, anyone who goes in the USFL, the XFL, has to be just losing money, because I watched one a couple weeks ago. Who shows ABC? I can't remember who the heck it was. Yep. But I'm watching. I'm like, there's maybe 50 people in the stands. Yep. Maybe.
Yep.
How are you making any money off of this?
Well, The Rock, I think, has a little bit of shekels.
Yeah, but why would you want to waste it on that? You might as well go by the Ottawa Senators.
Well, now Ryan Reynolds is not furthering his pursuit of the Ottawa Senators. My question to that is Snoop Dogg okay with that, or is he high up?
He's high up. There's no question about that.
He's high up, right?
Yeah.
He's high up. You think being so high up, he would want to pursue the LA Kings or somebody else, not the Ottawa Senators. Anyways, and let's talk about the National Hockey League for a second here. I don't know if I had you on when they selected Connor Bedard. Well, he's going to be selected by the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yep.
That's a perfect place for that guy, because they lose Taves, they lose Kane, and now
is it just me, or does it always have to be the NHL when a player is needed in a certain city? Conveniently, he shows up in that city. Is it just me? I've seen it with the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Are you telling me it's scripted? Like, oh, wait a minute. Kevin Weeks is calling me. Kevin Weeks, right. before it tells you, he's telling me, oh, there's a change. There's a change in the draft order. Columbus will pick third.
We didn't see Columbus's card. Yeah, Columbus is third. Then, Anaheim, get back. Like I said, years ago when Marilyn Lemieux was getting ready to retire, who did the Pittsburgh Penguins all of a sudden get? Sidney Crosby. Right now, we got McDavid in Edmonton. Oh, we need a player. Edmonton's got now.
Maple Leafs needed a player. Who did they get?
Matthews. Now we need to have and the Rangers, for that fact. I think that was the COVID year, the draft. It was all like everyone got into the and somehow the Rangers got that pick. Yeah, it didn't work out with that pick, but they got that pick, and now you got the Chicago Blackhawks that are losing 2 of their guys. Well, one's already gone.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they come up with the best player since, obviously, Connor McDavid.
How do you like to be Anaheim? You have 2 selections. Sidney Crosby selection, Anaheim second. Then you get the next big star, okay, Bedard, and you're number 2 also. Fantilli's going to be good. He's probably projected number 2. Fantilli's going to be good and all that. But if you're Anaheim, if you look at Columbus, Anaheim, and Chicago, come on, you already know where it's going to go.
In this draft, it was Bedard and everyone else. It's just like in the year McDavid, it was McDavid and everyone else. Yes, Eichel went number 2, right? But it was McDavid and everyone else.
McDavid with Eichel, even though
and this is going to be the same thing here. Bedard will be in Chicago next year. There's no question. He's not going to go back to the junior hockey ranks. He's not going to play in the AHL. He's playing in Chicago. That's where he's going to be from the get-go. And he's the real deal. There's no question about it. Right? How long does it take Chicago to get players around him? Because they're going to have some money left. They're going to have some money left with guys that are gone. So do they go right away and start trying to get some guys? Do they make some trades with some teams to get some guys in with Bedard to give him? Because let's face it, if Taves and obviously Kane are gone, who's going to show Bedard the ropes?
Yep.
Right? There's no one there to show him the ropes of being in NHL. So you know that they're going to find someone that's NHL veteran to bring in there and help out. And here we are all thinking, like, what was Chicago doing this way? You sit here and you think about all this stuff. So they trade to Brinkrat. A young guy, 50 goal scorer, got rid of him. What the heck are you doing? Then you got rid of Kirby Doc. What the heck are you doing? Now all of a sudden, Bedard falls in her lap. It's just a little too fishy for me. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm definitely not. But this put some red flags up for me again with the NHL. Why not just throw all the balls into that friggin' machine and let us watch it live? Watch it and see what happens when these balls come out.
Or the honest truth is, it was good for 75 years when the last team gets the first pick. If you're second last, you get the second. Third last, you get the fourth. Like, come on. That's it. You don't need a lottery. Anaheim was the worst team. They should have got first pick.
It just, I get why they tried to do it, to stop teams like Chicago of tanking. But you just gave Chicago the number 1 pick.
Yeah,
for tanking.
And further to that point, and I'm going to say this, you've seen a lot of memes and a lot of video. Bettman last year, Montreal? This wasn't planned. Where he had somebody else part of, and he was acting surprised. Oh, okay, it's Montreal. Montreal got the draft, and they got the number 1 pick. But yet, they selected whatever they selected because Justin Levine or Levert told them to select that guy, and that guy's not going to be whatever. All right. So, like I said, overtime, we'll touch on that if there's a score when we do this show. But Seattle, Dallas, you talk about a team that you want to go and watch a game. Forget about play. Don't you want to watch a game in Seattle?
Yeah, it's Seattle. I told you before was my sleeper team. I had them last year making the playoffs and making a run. They didn't do any of that. I think McCann is back. So it could be, Seattle could take this 3-2 to take the series 3-2 after tonight's game because they're 2-2 now. And, Seattle's goaltending has been pretty good. They're pretty good defensively. Yes, Dallas is as well. But I think Seattle doing this without McCann since the first or second game in the last series. And they've won that series and won 2 games in this series without him. This is a big ad for them to get McCann back. Let's just hope that he's fully healthy and he can help them win this game tonight.
All right. And before we get to that, tomorrow, Edmonton, Vegas, both. What was that? The chop of all chops. He only gets 1 game. He should have got more than 1 in my opinion.
I saw it, and yes, it was. He tried to hit him on the wrist. I didn't think it was overly hard of a slash. I really didn't. Maybe that's because I think back when I played and those days that you get a 2-hander over the head and you would get 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe that's why. But there was no question that he did try to take him at the wrist and try to injure him there. There was no question. You could see that, and that's why he got it, was the intent to injure. I don't think it was a hard whack. I really don't. But it was definitely a whack to try and try and get him on the wrists.
And Darnell, so they made a trade. Darnell Nurse gets suspended as well for a game, so it's a trade. Petrangelo and Darnell Nurse not playing, and just a small thought on the Maple Leafs. And if you're a fan of the Maple Leafs, and in Florida, there's a guy there, and you know who? At the end of the game, he was suckering. Who was it? McCabe on the ice.
It was Bennett giving it to McCabe laying on the ice. And
how does he
was
not get
giving
a
it to him.
penalty? How does he not get a?
I don't know how. Well, he might have got a penalty. I saw there was like 26 penalty minutes, but here's a guy that was already was fined for the cross check.
Yeah.
And now he goes and does that with the guy defenseless. He's on the ground with other guys on top of him.
Ice, yeah.
And he's feeding it to him. So how there's not another fine? Like if you're this guy that's in charge of safety of the players, shouldn't there be another fine for that? The guy's laying defenseless on the ice and you're feeding him in.
And for that
I sort of had a laugh with Tkachuk with Marner because Marner's like asking the ref to break it up. And Tkachuk is like, okay, maybe I'll just keep giving him a shot here or there because no one's going to come and that was on the ice to stop it, right? So it was kind of funny. I heard them say, "Oh, Marner stood his ground." No, Marner didn't stand his ground. Marner was asking for the ref to come in.
Yeah, and further to that, I'm going to say, how does Radko Gudas, when he takes out Kampf, how he took him out, does not get a penalty, does not get 5-minute boarding, doesn't are they like? This
well, the thing is that I get why the Leafs didn't want to retaliate. I did because they needed to win that game.
Yeah,
they can't spend time in the box. If that game, I would think that if that game got out of hand, you would see some liberties being taken with a few of those guys. But when you're down 3-0, you can't risk sitting in the box.
So do you start Simmons tomorrow because of this?
Because then you still have to win the game. You still have to win this game. You can't allow Florida get on the power play and then score, and then you're playing from behind. So you have to suck it up right now because you fell behind 3-0. And if it does get out of hand, then maybe you Shen or someone goes out there and takes some liberties with one of their players or not. But you can't risk doing that when you're down 3-1 and your playoff season's on the line.
All right, so let's give a small. Like I said, Digi Murphy will be previewing tomorrow's game 5 here on the Fired Up Network, most likely around 6:30 p.m. But Marty, give your thoughts. You weren't on the Maple Leafs Forever post-game show. Taylor Woods missed you. All right, Taylor Woods missed you. I know.
I'm waiting for her to bring her Bronco up to Barrie to take me for a spin in it.
Oh, did you see? We have a bet. We have a bet. So this game, she says, Game 5, Florida is going to win. So we made a bet here. If the Maple Leafs win, she's going to give a Taylor Woods jersey to Justin, who will give it to you. If Florida wins, she gets 2 haircuts. Justin shaved bald, and your friend, the Greek, shaved bald.
I'm glad you put that in for Billy. Did he get a say in this?
Does he have a say in everything? We don't let him get a word edgewise here. Billy may or maybe not be back tomorrow. If the Maple Leafs lose and the season's over, I'll put him on for his ranting and raving. If they win,
I saw when we had him on, when we were on with him last week, it was Leafs were winning Game 4. This was going 7. Now he said. Then I saw his preview, and he was sitting in the crapper. And he said this game is in the crapper. The season's done.
Yeah.
And so he went to Leafs losing.
Well, this guy's inconsistent. Would you say it's inconsistent? I remember there was one day, I don't know if you remember this, Marty. They had some, like he says, newfie on who was picking the game. And he was saying 3-2. What was the score? It was score 3-2, but Florida, whatever. Yeah. But you got the score right. Some newfie was picking the game. Let the newfie, or for that matter, can't go any worse than the heavy hitter.
The heavy hitter can do the selections. We'll see what happens. I honestly think the Leafs are winning tomorrow night. Yeah, I really do.
I don't know about Sunday, but I know tomorrow night they're winning big.
I think they're winning now tomorrow. I think we still haven't seen Matthew show up yet. we have it. And in the first, 4 games of this series, Leafs have not played very good in any of them, really. Even that game that they won last night, the first period, they played like a team that
Panic.
Yeah, they weren't. It wasn't like they needed to win. They weren't playing like we got to win this game. They were just sitting back. And in the second period, they played better in the third period. Yes, Wall played good. Wall played really good. To me, that was a weak goal that went between his pads. But what can you expect from a rookie? I think he was the first rookie in 20 years or something like that.
Felix, 30 years.
30 years since Felix Potvin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Felix Potvin allowed 6 goals or something like that.
Yeah.
But no matter what, even if Samsonov's healthy, I can't see them saying, Samsonov, you're a net when Wall played this well. And that's what my thing was. You couldn't put Wall in net when Samsonov was there because you don't want to lose with Wall. But now that Wall came in and played well, that gives Keefe that option of, yes, let's leave him in net. And Samsonov hasn't been on the ice the last 2 days.
So here's the only question, and I agree everything you just said, because first of all, a Joseph always deserves the net. All right, Joseph Wall. All right, but let me ask you a question. You were like, everybody should give you a pat on the back here, because you were back 6 months ago, 8 months ago. Matt Murray, injury prone, and what are they doing now? Matt Murray is a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. They rather put a rookie, 24 years old rookie, in net on the season's on the line, instead of a guy who won 2 Stanley Cups. Or is he still injured? Because right now he's the backup. So for me, he's not injured.
No, he's not injured. But I guess to be fair, he hasn't really played anything for at least 2 months or where the heck it's been. But he's a guy that is past his prime. When he got to Ottawa, he really dropped off a lot. He got injured a lot. You can't put Murray in net to win this series. It's not going to happen. It's not his Pittsburgh Penguin days. It's years after that. I think Joseph Wall's the guy that has to be in there, and it'd be interesting to see though if Samsonov is healthy. Do they put him in net? I'd be interested to see. I just want to see if Samsonov's healthy, if he does. And then what happens if they lose that game and Samsonov craps the bed?
Number one, he's not playing game 5. I don't know.
I don't think he is either. But it'd be interesting to see if there is that option of Samsonov, Wall, who does he go to? After Wall, allowed 1 goal the other day against Florida in an elimination game. And he stood on his head pretty much that whole game. Now, to be fair, Toronto did keep a lot of the pucks to the outside.
Marner was blocking shots.
Right? They did keep a lot of pucks to the outside and allowed a lot of time for him to see the puck and make the saves. Yes, he did. Can at least do that back-to-back games? I don't know if they can.
Digit doesn't think so, because there's no consistency. I say there is, because they don't want to let the young goalie hang out there. For some reason, yes, the season was on the line, but I've never seen Mitch Marner was blocking shots. People were blocking shots. People were checking. Willie actually showed something, right? Where the thing that's concerning a little bit, Matthews still, Tavares still, he had a breakaway in the goalie saved. Bobrovsky saved it. So, but saying all that, and I'm not going to spoil it. I will spoil it. I'm going to call 5-2 Maple Leafs. This series, 4-2, 3-2, 3-2, 2-1. So for everything that people say, oh, Maple Leafs suck or whatever, this has been a nail-biting series. It could bounce here and there, or good goaltending, because that's what got us to the second round. So
I think that if the Leafs score 5 goals, it's a 5-4 type of game, because then that means that the Leafs have forgotten about playing the defensive side of things and have worried more about scoring the goals. So if it's going to be a 5-goal outburst by the Leafs, I think it's a 5-4, 5-3 type of game. I think the Leafs win 3-2 tomorrow. That's what I think.
All right, well, there you go. Marty Roberts thinks the Maple Leafs are going to win. I think the Maple Leafs going to win too. Some guy who made a comment
Well,
doesn't
you know what, and for that guy who made the comment, he does forget an awful lot of stuff. There's no
doesn't
question about it.
remember anything, right?
He
So
doesn't remember anything. He
he doesn't
forgets
even
stuff
do his
all the
shows
time.
no more.
No, he doesn't show up. His team, guys off East York Junior Baseball team, be messaging me worried about him because he's forgetting his way around the ballpark now. So they're putting yellow stickies around to show him to the dugout and help the guy out. So I'm there on Saturday. I'm going to make sure that he is at the end of the bench. I'm going to help him fill out the card and hand it in so he knows who each and every player is. Because, it's a shame when you get to be Billy's age of 62 that you start losing.
I thought he's
a bit
older
up
than
here.
Norm.
Well, it's hand in hand.
And can you make sure if you're going to go to the game, can you make sure he wears his hat? When you're, like we talked about before, if you're a manager of a team, you wear the uniform. Part of the uniform, Marty, tell them, is the hat.
It's the hat. Now, I want to get a mascot for the team as well. I think I'm going to stop by the farm, pick up an alpaca, bring it down, and we're going to tie it to the fence for Billy just so he feels like he's at home.
And you know what will make him, when Billy has to clean the crap of that will make him feel at home. All right. So,
but tomorrow, I think the Leafs are 3-2. I think they still try and play a defensive style. If they score a lot of goals, that means they're forgetting about the defensive that helped them out in the last game. So I think that it's going to be a 3-2 type of game.
All right, 3-2 type of game. All right.
Because if it goes back and forth, that doesn't fare very well for the Leafs, I don't think. I think they want to shut this down and not give Florida the opportunities like they did in the first 3 games.
If the Maple Leafs score 3 goals, they win. Put it that way. If they score 3 goals, they win. All right. So let's conclude with talking about NFL here. I pull up the schedule for Washington. Pull up the schedule for all these teams. Which matchup? Give me a couple, 3, 4, 5 matchups intrigues you the most there, Marty.
I want to see my Washington football team lay a smackdown on the Buffalo Bills. Where do they play? Week 3?
Week 3, yes.
Week 3 in the NFL football.
By the way, 2-2 still in overtime in hockey, but Dallas, 5 minutes in, leading 2-0 over Seattle. All right. So are you really saying the Washington football team, if that's their name again, or it's actually the Commanders? Okay.
Yes. Commandos.
Yeah, Commando. Yeah, that's right. Stop talking about Billy and wherever. All right. So, are you saying the Washington Commanders will defeat the Buffalo Bills in Week 3?
I think they will. I think Washington might have it this year, and we don't have Wentz that's going to be under center, so we don't have to worry about that. So maybe they're a little healthier. Maybe, I don't know. It's still a long way away. We still 4 or 5 months away from. Well, I guess 4 months away from when the season would start, right?
Well,
how many games are on Thanksgiving?
3 games. 3 games. Washington.
3 games. Washington, Dallas.
Green
That'll
Bay,
be a game.
Green Bay, Detroit, Washington, Dallas, and the last game I think it's Baltimore and San Fran or Seattle and somebody. But a game I want to touch on, and you know why? It is December 17th. It's week 15 on Sunday, December 17th, 4:25 game. The Buffalo Bills will be playing host to the team that has a star on it. The only star that I will see is your guy, the Greek, seeing stars when Buffalo humiliates them 35-10. All right? That's it. Do you agree with that?
How bad will you feel if Dallas and Washington both beat Buffalo this year?
Not going to happen.
We're going to have to sit down. We're going to have to figure this out, Billy and me, about if one of our teams beat you, we should have to hold you down and shave your head.
Listen, I will shave my head for the proper reason. I'm the president of the province of Canada, the mayor-elect of North America. I will give my hair to charity. All right? I won't give it to the star. And that's it. And what do you expect seriously? Like you mentioned your team Washington. What do you expect this year from Washington?
I don't expect like I said before, I think in the first 7 weeks if they're not at least 2 games over 500 in that span there, their season is done. I don't know. They still, to me, need a quarterback. I think the rookie is going to be starting. At least that's all reports were before, that he would be the guy under center. So I don't know. We'll see.
All right. And how, for that matter, how do you think of his team?
Dallas. I just want him to lose again so I can hear him drop F-bomb after F-bomb on his show again with Dakota. Call him Dak Dakota. That's how mad he was. He was calling Dak Dakota. That's almost like if Dakota called Greek William.
I call him William. That's
William.
That's Corporate Greek's name. Corporate Greek is William. All right. By the way, do you want to read what he just has written?
What's it say? Depends. Skins. Durham calls this guy is a lover with a capital L. I am a lover. Hey, yeah. I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah. Only W.
Only W he will see is riding shotgun with the Greek. I'll have to remind him of the W because he'll forget about it.
Shotgun with the Greek.
Yeah, shotgun.
That could be.
I try to stay away from him on the bench because when he talks, he sort of spits.
Really?
He's sort of like an alpaca. He's like an alpaca.
He's a spitter.
He's a spitter. He's a spitter. So I stay away from him. I hang out at the other end. I'll hang out with Mr. Iliopoulos and Mr. Bailey and allow Billy to be by himself.
This is not the proper way to talk about the number one prognosticator in the world. The guy has a great handicapping NFL football. He's been struggling with the Maple Leafs, been struggling with the Blue Jays. He's been struggling picking up horses. He's been struggling picking lacrosse games. He's been struggling with golf. But NFL, this year, the 2023 season, I know in his palatial estates there, 400 feet in the washroom, he has all the schematics there. Buffalo's going to win. Dallas is going to win. They're going to meet in the Super Bowl, and Buffalo's finally going to get the victory that Dallas wishes because, Jerry Jones pays off these referees. Even Jerry Jones, Billy has talked about him being paid off by Jerry Jones. And by the way, what do you think of Tom Brady being honored by the New England Patriots week 1 when they take on the reigning defending Super Bowl champions?
You sure they're not going to call him out as the quarterback to start the season just before game time?
But my only question, and Billy could chime on this one if he was here, I sent him an email, Marty. I forwarded that email to you, and he doesn't even show up. And then tomorrow he's going to say
he's too big for us, Joseph. He's too big for us.
Yeah, you're right. He's getting bigger than me, so that's it. All right. so Marty, to close it out here, over 3-hour show here. What do you think? Who's your Stanley Cup pick right now?
Well, both my picks are gone.
That's why I'm saying it.
So, if you know what, I still like Carolina, so I'm gonna say Carolina is gonna get to the Cup final on that side, and you know what, I'm gonna go with, as much as I like Seattle, I don't think Seattle beats Dallas. I'm gonna go with Dallas. Carolina.
All right, and some great news for the Greek. Who's the Greeks' favorite team in the NBA?
The Philadelphia 76ers.
They have a home game, leading 3-2 today, right? A home. They're playing at home. They're playing to close it out. They're playing at home. Do you understand what a home? He talks about home. The advantage you get of home playing.
Well, NBA home arena advantage is the biggest of any of the sports.
Then tell me why. Just tell me why, Marty. Boston wins 95-86.
Just to make Billy's life miserable tonight.
Game 7 of that series will go down on Sunday. Game 7 of that series will go on Sunday. All right. So we're going to close. And I sent the Greek an email. We'll close it out here. Marty, tell everybody at 12:15 tomorrow, what can they expect?
12:15 tomorrow. Well, what you can expect is to have the coach, Carmen Asako, John Freeman Nelson, yourself, Joseph, and maybe the little whippersnapper, Giancarlo Lino, if he's not looking at himself in the mirror.
All right. And
The
don't forget,
number one soccer show anywhere is on tomorrow, 12:15. Make sure you tune in, watch it. I might tune in for a second or two just to see some of John's scarves and to see what Carmen is doing with his hair.
all right. And don't forget, later on that tomorrow, 6 o'clock, 6:30, the Maple Leafs Forever pregame show with myself, Digit Murphy. 10 o'clock, the Maple Leafs Forever postgame show with Marty Roberts. Yes, he's going to be cooking up some steaks with Taylor Woods and maybe, just maybe, that fat, out of shape manager of the East York Bulldogs, the number one prognosticator who I sent an email to, doesn't show up again. And then he's going to complain tomorrow why he's not on Maple Leafs Forever. Thanks a lot for watching. This has been Fired Up Live here on the Fired Up Network. We're all fired up. Marty, any last comments?
See you, Joseph.